Mike Greenberg.
Brian Windhorst, our basketball insider extraordinaire.
The Clippers I can't believe how little they're getting out of what should be an incredibly special team. Ty Lue has rings as a coach, as a player. Kawhi Leonard has 2 finals MVPs. Paul George has hundreds of millions of dollars. I'm telling you, this 2-year span, if they get knocked out here, will put a stain on them that they will never wash off.
Greeny with Mike Greenberg. Weekday mornings at 10 Eastern on ESPN Radio. And watch exclusively on ESPN.
WYNG 1410 Dayton. Dayton's ESPN Radio. It's live. It's local. It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, presented by Kirkland and Summers.
All right, everybody, welcome in. What is today? It is a Tuesday, technically a Monday, but most importantly, it is the first day of June, and we are off and rolling. About 5 straight days off of the radio? Not technically off of work, but off the radio, and, feeling refreshed and ready to go here. Ton to dive into. Today's a fun day. Yes, it's June 1st, but the dead period for face-to-face recruiting for college athletics, it's officially over today. And what's interesting about all of that, Kev, is the fact that a good chunk of the 2021 recruiting class had to commit to a program without actually ever stepping foot on campus, or at least in an official essence. You know what I mean? Without actually, being walked around the campus with Ryan Day, or however the recruiting world really works. Does Ryan Day really hold their hand and walk them around campus? I'm not really sure exactly. All the the big schools that recruited me coming out of high school, you think I'd be very well experienced with that. But today's a big day. The regular football recruiting calendar, it calls for that quiet period, usually from like June 1st through the 31st, July 31st, and it's interrupted by a dead period from June 28th through July 24th. But that's all been thrown out due to, of course, all the changes with COVID. I mean, I think I have it in my notes somewhere. On March 13th of 2020 is when everything was just, called off completely. So from March 13th of 2020 to today, June 1st, 2021, coaches have not been able to meet with their players or with their future players, their recruiting classes, in face-to-face action. I mean, obviously Zoom calls, so you at least know what their face looks like from that standpoint. Coaches had to get really creative, Kevin. In fact, there's a loophole that I found to be, fairly interesting, that if you have an unofficial visit with the player and they are walking around campus, you are not allowed to, they can't get any extra, you can't feed them. You can't get anything like that. However, you are allowed, if a coach lives within a mile of campus, you are allowed to have a player. That player is allowed to walk to your house and actually have a dinner with you at your house. There's a coach at Missouri, just took over. His name is Eli Drinkwitz, okay? He had been looking, just took over, okay? And his plan was they were looking for houses within walking distance, because during this dead period, even if that's not their official house that they live in, they were going to buy that house just to be able to. That's very creepy. Yeah. I'm going to buy a house so that I can get 16, 17, and 18-year-olds to come over. That is strange to me. That is weird, but that's how these coaches have had to figure out loopholes. I'm not even sure they had to, he had to call his compliance office and see, hey, that's technically the loophole. They obviously never followed through with that. Wink, wink, right? At least according to this article on 24/7 Sports. But nonetheless, I found that interesting. But this is big. You want to talk about all the things going on in college athletics right now with the transfer portal being filled up. I know basketball really gets most attention for the transfer portal than any other sport. But this is a athletics issue across the board for every sport. If you think that the transfer portal is filled up now, how many of these kids made a horrible mistake of committing to a program, some of them not even being able to step foot on campus or actually even one-on-one meet with the coach? There's only so much communication that a Zoom face-to-face can do. There's still a lot of interpersonal stuff missing from that conversation. Sure, it's nice to be able to make eye contact on a Zoom call and that, but there's something that, is missing if you don't have that one-on-one conversation. Absolutely. So I find this fascinating. So the dead period's up. So Ryan Day, all the coaches, every sport, you can officially start meeting with your recruits now, and that's going to be big. We're going to have Jeremy Birmingham, Buckeye recruiting analyst for Letter Monroe, just under an hour from now, 55 minutes, 4 o'clock. He'll chat with us and kind of give us the direction and the approach that Ryan Day and the Buckeyes are kind of making right now, not just with this class that's already making its way to campus to begin with, but for 22, 23, and so on and so on.
Right. You speak about the decisions that the young men are making to choose a college sight unseen, but it also works vice versa. These coaches are taking a flyer on people that in a normal year that they have years of rapport with, years of communication with, face to face. And like you said, a Zoom call ain't the same thing as meeting somebody face to face and meeting their parents and truly getting to know them. So it's not only the kids that are making the decision, it's the school, it's the coach making the decision off of just film. Like, these coaches haven't even been able to go out to like the 7-on-7 camps like they normally did, or go to the games like they normally did. So it's a lot of trust here on both sides. Like, hey, I'm coming into a situation that I really just don't know anything about. And then tenfold is, a lot of these kids coming out of high school right now, they're jumping on these early offers because they know now that since the transfer portal is there, these schools are going to be leaving, maybe 2, 3, 4 spots open to see if they can snag somebody in the transfer portal instead of loading up on all 22 scholarship spots for freshmen. So, scholarships for high school seniors are dwindling, actually. So these are another one of those things about unseen repercussions of the transfer portal.
Yeah, and again, it goes the scope. Yeah, you're right. The scope goes beyond that. And again, we appreciate everyone hanging out with us here today on a Tuesday, June 1st. Happy June, everybody.
Wow.
I know. I mean, we're, I guess, 30 days away from officially saying we're at the halfway point of 2021, but nonetheless. So we're live on YouTube. Head to YouTube, search ESPN Dayton on YouTube, subscribe to the ESPN Dayton YouTube channel. You can also like and follow along the Justin Kinner Show on Facebook. Everyone has Facebook. Get to Facebook, like the Justin Kinner Show. You'll be able to watch us live weekdays from 3 to 6. Listen, stream, and now watch. It's the Justin Kinner Show presented by Orion Sports Medicine. So here's the deal. So last week, of course, off on Thursday, off on Friday, a couple things dropped that I was like, man, I would have loved to have been on the air to be able to kind of have that conversation and to jump in on that. One thing that came out that I thought was really interesting, and this comes from, and again, John Rothstein has tweeted out similar things. Mark Adams with ESPN locally tweeted out something very similar to this. Fran Fraschilla, college basketball analyst, you talk about the repercussions of the transfer portal being what it is. It has totally changed how teams are approaching their coaching staffs and how they build their coaching staffs and how they approach the offseason. So much time is put into recruiting at the prep scene, right? At the high school, football, high school baseball, high school basketball. With the portal being what it is, there are actual teams now who are officially hiring individuals. They have created a position that is strictly monitoring the transfer portal. Now, there are some programs who are going a step further, and I found this fascinating. Fran Fraschilla, he's one of my favorite college basketball analysts with ESPN, tweeted out this past weekend that one top 40 program had told him last week, Kev, that they will no longer recruit high school players. This is a top 40 program, which, again, this isn't Duke or North Carolina or teams like that. This is those fringe, they're outside of the top 25. Right? So a top 40 program told Fran Fraschilla that they are no longer going to be recruiting high school players, that they are going to live in the transfer portal. They quoted, "We are like the NBA now. We can build through free agency or through the draft. We'll take the sure thing." And that's always a big knock on the draft, is there's a lot of teams that don't respect the draft. If you notice in the NBA, that's why teams in the NBA, they load up, they'll lock together a bunch of draft picks and try to go get ready-made players now. Right. They want to go for the sure thing. And from a college basketball perspective, and I'm using college basketball, college football, I think, I don't think you're going to see teams shy away from the actual high school recruiting scene. Basketball is a little bit different. You have less bodies. More time is given on the court in this sport to those players. If you know who they are from a college basketball playing standpoint, you're going to feel a lot better about bringing them into your program than a high schooler who is, eating lunch in a cafeteria one year and now trying to lead you to a Final Four the next. I think that, I understand. So I said, hey, I hated the one and done era. The one and done era is still here technically, right? But I hated it. I thought that was the worst thing that could have ever happened to college. But this is officially worse. If programs are officially going to approach this as we're just no longer going to recruit the high school scene, that I have an issue with. Now, the reason is because, let's be clear, you want to know what happens in the transfer portal a lot of times? A lot of times a player will commit to a school, not like it there, will enter the transfer portal, and then a lot of times, I guarantee you, if you go look, they will end up at a school that also heavily recruited them out of high school. Yeah. So that is where I come into this saying, hey, I think it's actually reckless to not recruit the high school scene, because a lot of these guys that enter the transfer portal, there were some things they liked about some other schools too. It's not like the school that they ultimately picked at the time coming out of high school was the only school they liked. There were some talking points from other coaches and recruiters out there that probably caught their attention. So at this point, I really do find this interesting because I think it's going to haunt some teams. I don't know who this top 40 program is, but if they approach this as we're not going to recruit high school anymore, you're going to have zero rapport with these guys in the transfer portal. Now, there's over thousands. I highly doubt you've tried to recruit all 1,000 of these players. Mm-hmm. But, man, it would be nice if you had a rapport with some of these guys coming out of high school that you might have missed out on, that you could have come back and said, hey, we told you we would use you this way. Our plan is still in place. We would love to bring you here. I think that's reckless of these programs to come out and say that they're just no longer going to recruit the high school scene. I think that's dangerous. There's
a reason why it's anonymous. They're not going to put their name on it. They're not going to put their school on it because they know they're going to suffer some major backlashes. The team that I follow in college basketball, Syracuse, they had a ton of guys transfer. One guy, Quincy Guerrier. The two teams that he came down to, his final two teams as he was entering college, was Syracuse and Oregon. He ultimately picked Syracuse. He transferred to Oregon. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So it's that rapport. Another guy, Richardson. His top two schools were Syracuse and not St. John's, but Seton Hall. He transferred to Seton Hall. So that rapport, that relationship that you have with guys already, if you don't have that relationship with them, you can nix that off the list. Because it is about relationships, and ultimately, guys want to be in a situation where they can, better themselves and showcase their skill set for the NBA or a professional career. The guy that I was talking about, Quincy Guerrier, he was playing the 4 at Syracuse. He's going to be playing the 3 at Oregon. So that means you're going to be out on the wing a lot more, shooting a lot more threes and everything like that, as opposed to banging with the big man down at the 4 spot and everything like that. You and I differ about the transfer portal, but I mean, it's clear as day that there are going to be some adjustments and unseen ramifications of the transfer portal. I just truly believe that at the long run, coaches are going to have more ammunition to tell kids when they're thinking about transferring, because they're going to have a lot of guys that say, hey, man, remember Joe Smith? He transferred and he didn't find a landing spot. He had to transfer down to NIIA school or a Division II school. There wasn't a landing spot for him. So you might want to think twice about giving up this scholarship that you already have before you go and venture out to the world of the unknown. So I think this is new. I'm not going to go over the deep end and say, oh, this is the worst thing that's ever happened to college basketball. I would like to see a wider scope, maybe a 5-year sample size before I'm saying, okay, maybe they need to readjust this thing. Maybe this shouldn't be happening, because I think this is like a very unique situation because it's new and it's a COVID situation. Like, it's just a lot going on. So I just want to see more before I say, oh, this is horrible. We got to end this right now.
Well, keep in mind, even though you and I are on opposite sides of our view on the transfer portal, people keep getting my take confused with the take of, I'm saying that you shouldn't be able to transfer at all. I've never once said that.
Right.
I do think there needs to be some boundaries in place. I do not think it should just be an all-out free agency every year.
And it's a one-time deal. So it's not like dudes.
And I've been a fan of that.
Transfer whatever. I was a freshman at Wright State and I rode the bench, and then I transferred to whatever Ball State, and I ride the bench at Ball State. Now I want to transfer to Bowling Green. I can't do that. It's a one transfer situation unless obviously you're a grad transfer.
Yeah, and keep it, and that's the thing too. I had someone come at me on Friday or whatever when I posted this about something about, we as media. They're like, oh, there you go again, complaining about these athletes who are free labor, not having the right to be able to transfer and do what's best for them. Remember that when when those college athletes that you don't want to have freedom are giving you free content on your show. And I said, okay, that's a very dramatic spin on this post. I didn't even post my opinion on it. I just thought it was I was waiting to see how teams are going to approach this, because I've heard you say in the past, well, we need to see it a few years to see kind of how it's going to span out. I think it's going to get worse, or I think it's going to be a common thing moving forward of having thousands of players in the portal moving forward because of results like this. Look at the 21 class real quick. Yeah, 21. How many players just committed? And we just look at it through our Buckeye scope. And I'm thinking of all the players that committed to Ohio State that really, and I'm not saying they've never stepped foot on campus, but there are a good chunk of guys that had to commit to either Ohio State, Michigan, other programs all across the country without actually stepping foot on campus or even physically meeting the coaches one-on-one. And I think there's going to be a lot of guys that ultimately have made a mistake. And you're going to have guys like me who say, oh, there they go again, not happy and are leaving. Well, this might be a different scenario where you probably aren't happy because you were kind of rolling the dice saying, well, Ohio State great. Sounds nice. They've told me the campus is great. They've told me this. And by the way, just because a player doesn't like the campus, that's his opinion. It doesn't make it a bad campus, but everyone's different. And that's what makes this situation so unique. I don't think it's going to get better, whatever your version of how good or bad this is. But here's the deal. Two things can be true. This is good for the players if they have the flexibility to go wherever they want, but it's bad for the sports. And both things can be true.
That's fair.
And I need to change how I word things in my approach to that. I think this is horrible for college athletics, but it's obviously good for them.
I think that we'll still see a spike in basketball because basketball, one player can change your program. I think in football, it'll slow down dramatically. I do think this year, not the guys that are going to be signing this year, but the guys that signed last year, really sight unseen situations, I think you're going to see a ton of guys end up transferring. Like guys that,
maybe that's what this is.
Yeah, I think it may be, but I just think a lot of those guys are going to transfer. I mean, you got guys that play on Ohio State that are from Texas, that are from California and everything like that. And so it's a burden. I know they have a scholarship and everything like that, but when you play a sport and you go to school tens and thousands of miles away from your home, like it's tough. It's not only tough on you, it's tough on your family and everything like that. So a lot of these guys do end up transferring to be closer to home, to be closer to mom and dad and everything like that. I know these guys are young adults and they're so close to manhood and everything like that. But hey, man, I still needed my mom to help and bail me out tons of times when I was in college. So I think
$600.
We're going to see. We're going to see certain dealership in town. We're going to see. But yeah, like I think that type of situation is going to happen a ton this upcoming season with guys that are entering the transfer portal because I just think like this year is just so unique and also it's new. We know how we are about new things. People love the new. Like, we love the new recruit over the guys that we got already. Like, oh, he's going to be taking so-and-so's spot. And we haven't seen him play one drop. So I think also the transfer portal is new. And guys are like, yeah, that's what I'm going to do. I can just do this and then flip it. I can transfer to this school and I can play a lot more and then I can shine. Like, they're going to start to realize, like, maybe that wasn't the smartest move in the world. So I think that it'll start to pan itself out. Hopefully.
I mean, you're on opposite sides on that. I think as long as you are allowed to fill this transfer portal up every year, I don't think it's going to get better for the sport. The players are loving it. Now, there's going to be stories of players that has led to success with, and there's others that are going to be like, man, I thought, and by the way, there's a lot of players who are transferring out of programs like Wright State and UD and others that I'm like, oh man, you're leaving a UD or a Wright State because you're thinking you're about to go to a Power 5 school.
Right.
And there's been multiple occasions where I've watched guys go a level lower. And I'm like, is that what you were wanting? And again, I'm falling in the trap of I'm assuming that these guys are constantly thinking about, I want to go to a bigger school. I want to go to a bigger school. Sometimes it really does come down to comfort zone on campus. Don't get along with the coach. Don't like the coaching staff. Hey, I don't gel with my teammates.
Do you think is it being closer to home? Is it being on playing for a D1 school, or is it playing time?
I think it's being used in an offense, or I think they, your part when you commit to a school, you're looking at the guys you're coming in with, and then you get to that school, and then you see, oh man, we're losing 4 seniors this year, man. We're going to be bad for the next 2 years. I only have 2 years. I mean, there's that urgency of, oh man, I only have 4 years in school.
Right.
And we're not going to be good for the next 2. I don't want to waste time. And it's a very logical mindset to have, but that's not what we have been taught as kids growing up about doing what's best for the guy next to you. We talked about that last week and stuff. So it's different. But again, if you're just tuning in, Justin Kinner, Kev Nash hanging out with you here on a Tuesday, the Justin Kinner Show presented by Orion Sports Medicine. Fran Fraschilla, ESPN, revealed that one top 40 program coach had told him last week that they're no longer going to recruit high school players, but they're going to live in the transfer portal. Where, like the NBA, we could build through free agency or through the draft. We'll take the sure thing being the transfer portal, because a lot of these players, you at least kind of know how they look out on a college floor with college athletes against college competition. So let me make sure I can read this. David Shaw says, I respect Fran. I normally agree with him, but I truly wonder how much of what he was told was the truth. I don't see a program doing this. You are not going to build a program this way. Well, Shaw, this wasn't Fran's opinion. He was just sharing following what a college coach had told him, and he's not the only one. Mark Adams with ESPN, from local here. He even tweeted out over the weekend that he's heard from coaches that said they're going to live in the transfer portal, that they're not going to look at, they're not going to recruit high school heavily anymore. They might have someone.
Yeah, you got to have somebody.
I wonder if you have a pie chart. Like if you ask coaches now, how much of that pie chart was committed towards keeping an eye on the prep scene? And now if you have to break that pie chart up to prep scene / transfer portal, you have the same amount of time. Like you don't get more time to recruit the portal. That's an addition pool of players now. So now these guys have to start doing time management with how they handle their recruiting hours, because are they going to be spending a lot of time following the transfer portal scene, or are they going to follow?
They're not allowed to. I use that term loosely. Allowed to contact the player. So, are the coaches that are keeping an eye on guys that could potentially be transferring, are they reaching out to their high school coach, their AAU coach, to put the bug in their ear already to say, hey man, we got a spot for you at university so and so. You can be our point guard of the future or the point guard for next year and everything like that. I don't think any school can go 100% portal. Could they? 100% portal? That's what, 12 scholarships, right?
But keep in mind, I believe you're going to have a base. I believe you can.
Wow.
I believe you can. It's just going to be rapid fire. And this is what I mean by this. So it can be done, but it's not good for the sport. Keep in mind that, yes, Kentucky and the Dukes, they have their one and dones. But, I mean, the players that keep the passion alive for those programs, it's not the Zions. It's not the Anthony Davises. It's the guys like Luke Kennard, who even though stayed for 3 years or whatever, he was able to have a bond with the Duke Blue Devil fans because he was there for multiple years. Those guys are very important to have in your program. And I think you can't keep doing a roster turnover every year. You will lose. Although I have said we fight so much for the players in college basketball, but the thing is, we act like, oh man, without them the sport's nothing. Those players come and go every single year. Every year, the NBA couldn't function if you got 4 years of LeBron and then had to look for the next star after 4 years. The NBA is the NBA because you have LeBron for a good 15, 20 plus years, and in that time you hope another big star comes into play. As far as college goes, Duke is Duke, no matter who's putting on the jersey. North Carolina, Kentucky. I mean, even the smaller schools. Right state for their fan base. UD is UD.
Duke better get some better Duke players.
Yeah, but Obi that was a fun run. But do you think there's not going to be 13,000? You think that attendance is going to take a hit because Obi's no longer there? I mean, you're not going to probably have max capacity every time. But you know what I'm saying. The point is
standing room
programs
only
are bigger than that. So there you go. All right, Justin Kinner, Kev Nash with you here on 1410 ESPN Radio. We got our over/under coming up around the corner. But on this note, I do want to talk about this. Naomi Osaka withdraws from the French Open, and it led to a lot of controversy. It's been interesting hearing media members' takes throughout the day about the role that media plays within professional sports. And it's funny because it's an argument that I started with someone before this even took place over the weekend. In fact, I have it in front of me. He goes on to say, I need to stop, taking the free content from college athletes and the NFL players that I bash all the time and say, well, if you don't like them, then stop taking their free content. And I'm like, they need media just as much as we need them. He's like, well, if there's no sports, then you don't have a job. I'm like, well, thank you, Captain Obvious. Yes, I don't think I would have a sports radio, show if there was no sports to talk about. But I also know that the platform for which these players play on would not be what it is. No, not because of 1410 Little Old Wing AM in Dayton, Ohio, but sports media in general.
Hey, man, we're the home of the Buckeyes and the Reds.
Yeah, so there you go. But keep in mind, what should the role of media be within sports, and should players be forced to talk to the media after games or at all? Because keep in mind, it's not just an after game situation.
Right.
There are obligations that athletes have to that they have with the media, and it's led to a lot of interesting conversations lately because of the mental health. Most notably, of course, talking about Naomi Osaka, which withdrew from the French Open over the weekend in a very dramatic story that is not dramatic, but in a very big story that has taken over of what is the fine line of having to take care of a player's mental health first, make contractually, obliging by your obligations that have to do. We're going to talk about that when we come back. 457-9464. That's the number to jump in on the conversation. We're also live on YouTube, ESPN Dayton's YouTube channel, Facebook, The Justin Kinner Show. Jump in the comment section. We'll pull your comment into the show and jump in there. Don't go anywhere.
It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash on 1410 ESPN Radio.
ESPN 1410
Kev Nash brings you over.
weather.
This afternoon will be mostly cloudy, a high near 75. Tonight's going to be cloudy with showers, a low near 58. And tomorrow's going to be cloudy with showers, a high around 72. I'm Pete Spivak for 1410 ESPN Radio.
Weather is brought to you by Cullet Propane. Find out why 98% of their customers would recommend them to friends and family. Find out more at culletpropane.com.
Summer is about relaxing. Just you and your thoughts. Boring. Luckily, summer is also about America's Got Talent.
Are you ready?
Mind-boggling acts.
Put on your seatbelts.
Huge surprises. And $1 million on the line. So don't just summer. Summer with AGT. America's Got Talent, summer's #1 show, premieres tonight on NBC.
Life hacks. What would life be without them? Like using candle wax to loosen a stuck zipper. Here's another life hack. Now you can get the same high-quality insurance from Allstate, but at a new low rate. With Allstate, you can lower your rates, not your expectations. Visit allstate.com or call an agent for a quote today.
In most states, prices vary based on how you buy. Not available in every state. Subject to terms, conditions, and availability. Allstate Fire and Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates, Northbrook, Illinois.
Hey, my name is Jonelle, and a little thing that I love about Chick-fil-A's new Lemon Kale Caesar salad is every tender, warm, juicy piece of grilled chicken. It's a Caesar salad, but it's different. You have the Parmesan breadcrumbs and the mixture of lemon with that romaine and kale. It's almost something I can't explain, but it'll make you want to sing. Lemon Kale Caesar.
Order the new Lemon Kale Caesar salad on the Chick-fil-A app today. Available for a limited time. Real guests paid for their testimonial.
You think buckling up is a personal choice? That it doesn't hurt anyone else? You would be wrong. Your choice could shatter the lives of your family, friends, and everyone you know. That's why we enforce seatbelt laws, to save lives. Think about that every time you drive. Buckling up isn't just a good idea, it's a choice between surviving a crash or not. Make sure you and everyone in the vehicle buckles up every time. Click it or ticket. Paid for by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration.
Save today on your next project with 11% off everything now at Menards. Dutch Boy Max Bond is an exterior paint and primer with extreme adhesion technology. It provides superior adhesion to chalky, dirty, glossy, or previously painted surfaces. Save today on your next project with 11% off all Dutch Boy Max Bond exterior paint. Good through Saturday, June 5th. Savings are a mail-in rebate. Some exclusions apply. See store for details.
Save big money at Menards. Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Welcome to AutoZone. What are you working on today? Of course, we can help you find the right oil for your next change. We've got what your car's engine needs. Right now, you can get 5 quarts of Pennzoil high mileage motor oil and an STP oil filter for just $28.99. And you can get it all fast your way. Just order online with our free same-day store pickup or next-day delivery. Getting your job done just got easier. Restrictions apply.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
It's time for some straight talk. Sure, saving money feels good, but cutting your wireless bill in half, that feels really good. Like walk-off home run in the 9th inning kind of good. Okay, maybe not that good, but pretty darn good. With Straight Talk, you can get 25 gigs of high-speed data for $45 a month, up to 50% less than the other guys. Plus, no contract. All on America's best networks. Why pay a whole lot when you could pay half? Straight Talk Wireless. No contract, no compromise.
I'm CBS News business analyst Jill Schlesinger with a quick tip from H2O Wireless on stretching your budget and saving money every month. Start with your recurring monthly bills, and here's the easiest one, your cell phone bill. Verizon, AT&T, and T-Mobile charge premium rates for unlimited data, when in all actuality, you have no need for that much data. H2O Wireless, on the other hand, is on the exact same network as one of those carriers, but charges you half. The average family of 4 is saving over $70 a month without having to sacrifice coverage. And listen to this, unlimited talk, text, and 15 gigs of data for just $36 per month. Switching is as easy as swapping out your SIM card. You can keep your phone and your phone number. Here's how to get the best deal. This month, dial pound 250 and say keyword get H2O. You'll save an additional 50% off your first month. Dial pound 250 and say get H2O for this exclusive offer and start saving today.
It's Mattress Firm's best Memorial Day sale ever. For a limited time, save up to $500 on top-rated mattress brands like Sealy and Sleepy's.
There are many ways to catch the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash on 1410 ESPN Radio, weekdays from 3 to 6 p.m. You can catch it live right here on 1410 Wing AM, or you can stream the show at wingam.com. But now we have another way that you can take in the show. You can now watch the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash live on ESPN Dayton's Facebook page. Listen, stream, watch. It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, weekdays from 3 to 6 p.m. on 1410 ESPN Radio. Whether you're at home, at work, or in your car, tune in to ESPN 1410 Wing AM or stream us live at wingam.com.
I can't tell you the last time that I had tennis as one of my talking points on our rundown for the show, but that's where we are today. Naomi Osaka has, drawn a lot of attention to herself after this past weekend. She withdrew from the French Open. She announced Monday on social media that she will take some time away from the court one day after she was fined and threatened with harsher sanctions for skipping her mandatory media obligations. Osaka, in a lengthy statement, said that she never wanted to be a distraction. And look, I think this is one of those stories where there's going to have to be two things that are true at the same time. There's going to be sympathy shown for her with the mental issues that she is battling. But for me, it's also knowing how this business works and understanding how there are still obligations that have to be met. And although there are going to be roadblocks with the mental illness that she's suffering from, keeping her from doing it, at what point do we tell businesses, oh, well, you can't be cutthroat here. You have to, be understanding. It's a fine line because everyone is different. I think was it Serena in in one of the interviews talked about how everyone's different. Everyone, some people can handle this, some people can't. But keep in mind, just because you have the talent to participate in something, that talent's not the only thing that matters. You have to be able to fulfill all the obligations that come with this. So before I say something insensitive without meaning to, there are two parts to this that if you take a certain side on this, I've been noticing on social media that everyone's been being called tone deaf and everyone has just been called, being vilified for this stance on this. Keep in mind. So we hear about this in the NFL all the time. I'm only here so I don't get fined. Right. That wasn't a catchy slogan by Marshawn Lynch just to sell T-shirts. That was a factual statement. I am only here so I don't get fined. I don't want to answer your questions. I think you reporters are stupid. All this stuff, whatever it is. I'm only here so I don't get fined. That is, truer words have never been spoken. I'm only here so I do not get fined. We talk so much, and again, media members get called jealous all the time. You're only you're salty towards pro athletes because they make so much money. I'm like, I make so little money that I'm salty about everybody in my life. How about that? But no, that's not what this is. So I find this interesting because we talk so much about all the money that these athletes make, and a lot of the money that these athletes make, yes, it's because they deserve it. They have worked hard their entire lives, but that's not always the case. The reason that a lot of these athletes make so much money is because there's money to be made. Like, you know what I mean? Just because you play basketball doesn't guarantee you that you're going to make millions. If that's the case, you can go overseas and make millions and billions and billions. But you have to go to the NBA if you want to make the real money, right? Like that's how it works. And why is that? Because the NBA is the biggest basketball brand in the world. Like that's where you strive to get to because it's the biggest platform. It's the most money to make. They make that money, yes, because they deserve it, but they make that money because there is money to be made. There's not money to be made in every sport out there at every level, regardless of the sport. And a lot of that is because of media deals, TV rights deals. I've said that that's actually hurt sports more than it has helped. It's helped because, it's paid the athletes. Yes, I think it has made teams lazy because teams get money up front to where it used to be, to where, man, if we don't get asses in seats and we don't get concession money and we don't get, our jerseys sold, they would panic and they would be forced to put a better product out on the field or out on the court or out on the ice or whatever. Mm-hmm. Now they're getting this money up front. Baseball teams, the Reds are getting their money up front one way or another. They don't have to have a good product out on the field. So when people say, well, baseball, it takes 4 to 5 years to rebuild. It takes 4 to 5 years because there's no urgency to rebuild. There's no, if winning was a part of the equation of, well, we need to have a good product and win to get people in the stands for us to make money. I guarantee you these cheap owners wouldn't be so cheap. They would be a lot more aggressive in the talent that they would bring in. But when you're getting paid up front to do a job, and you're like, well, I'm going to make this money, I'm going to make this $1 billion whether we win or not. Of course, Castellinis aren't going to make sure that they have a all-star at every position, and I'm just using the Reds of all teams as far as that goes. So part of these TV media rights deals, we need access to your product, not just the games, not just the first 9 innings of your game or extra innings, not just the first 4 quarters and overtime of your game, football, baseball, basketball, NHL, whatever. We need access to your product. We need access to your players. We want to use your players in TV commercials to help promote the games coming up. We need you to do, media interviews after the game and the build up to the game, before the game. Like, you have to meet with the media. You have to talk to the media. Now, it might sound harsh. It might be annoying. There are many things about all of our jobs that we hate. We don't like it. It's funny. I work in communications, Kev, but I cannot stand public speaking. Like, I crack this mic every day. I'm completely content and comfortable doing that. You put me on a podium or up on a stage somewhere to talk to a big group of people, my stomach is in knots. Okay, it's in knots the week leading up to it. I don't sleep well the night before. I wake up and I'm nauseous. I'm not hungry. I do not want to do it, but I have to do it. If our company says, "Hey, you have to go speak at this club," blah blah blah. Damn it, I hate doing that, but I have to do it. It's part of the job description, because I have to ask myself, okay, it gives me anxiety. I can't sleep the night before. I'm nauseous and I'm sick in the morning when I wake up because I hate it that much. I have to ask myself, is that anxiety and that nauseousness that I feel whenever it comes to that, is it so bad that I would rather just quit this job than to go? No, I just say, man, it sucks. It's a week of being uncomfortable, but you know what? After it, whatever, I still get to go back to having the best job that I never thought I would ever have. Okay, getting to host a sports radio show. I can sympathize with people. There's certain parts about their job that they just mentally cannot get over it. I completely get it. So with this situation with Naomi Osaka, she comes out, she talks about the mental, the depression that she's battling. She has anxiety when it comes to speaking to the media and everything else. And yes, I want to sympathize with that. But at the end of the day, it's part of it. Like that's like in basketball saying, man, I shoot the three, I could dunk, I'm stronger than everybody, but I can't make free throws. Well, then we can't put you in the game at the end of the game, so we have to take you out. What do you mean you're going to take me out? Do you know you can't make an exception? No, because there's restriction. There's always going to be roadblocks that come along the way. And it's unfortunate. I hope she gets the help that she needs, but I do not think that the French Open was wrong for finding her and basically putting her in a position to where there was more anguish on top of all the anxiety she was feeling. It is unfortunate, but you kind of know what you're signing up for when you want to be a professional tennis player, professional golfer, NBA, NFL, swimming, whatever it is. So I sympathize with what she's going through, but at the same time, when you ask the question, and I've seen it asked on all sports shows today, should players be forced to speak with the media? Yes, because you're selling your own product. You can't sit there and say, man, my team's not paying me what I deserve, but I don't want to talk to the media. I don't want to help promote the product that is, in essence, getting the $1 billion TV deals that, in essence, put me in position to, hold my team hostage until I get the money that I want, right? Like, so it's just everyone's one team. The media and the sports are all one team. They don't have to like each other, but without the media, there is no $1 billion TV deals for these players to make the money. And without the players, we don't have sports talk shows. It's just the reality of it. Whether they want to admit it or not, they mock media, they make fun of radio hosts and writers and all that. If it wasn't for them, maybe, it's little Dayton, Ohio. We don't have as much leverage as those bigger markets, but you know what I mean? Like, we play a role in that, just like they play a role in our jobs. Everyone is a part of the same team when it comes to that. So I sympathize with this, but at the same time, I'm just like, why are people getting so angry today saying that the French Open is embarrassing and that sports is embarrassing for making these athletes talk to them? It's part of selling your product. It's part, there's everything in our jobs that there's certain parts of our jobs we all hate, but we have to do it. And if you can't handle it, then you got to get a different job. It's just the reality of it, no matter how cutthroat or insensitive it sounds at times.
Serena, Coco Gauff, and Naomi Osaka, they moved the needle. Nobody talks about tennis unless you're talking about those three women. Those are the draw. I don't watch men's tennis. I watch women's tennis.
Agreed.
And when Serena's on, I'm watching. When Coco Gauff is on, I'm watching. And best believe when Naomi is on, I'm watching. She moves the needle. I would love for her to come out and speak because I think she speaks her mind. She's a 23-year-old woman in this country. She's a black woman. She's also Japanese. She speaks about Asian hate crimes. She speaks about the Black Lives Matter movement. I love when she speaks. And when she does speak, she speaks so eloquently and she has a point and she puts that point out there in front of so many people. And that's why I would love for her to be still at the French Open, speaking her mind and letting her voice be heard. Do they need to? Should they be forced to, quote unquote? I don't necessarily believe that. I believe that there can be a happy medium, because when Marshawn did his I'm here so I don't get fined, he got ridiculed. When Rasheed Wallace did his both teams play hard man thing, people ridiculed him. So she doesn't feel comfortable talking. She quote unquote accepted the fine for day one, and then day two she got fined again. And then, you know what? She said, I'm going to go ahead and withdraw because I'm becoming a distraction, not only for myself, but the other players here. They're going to be asked 1,000,001 questions about me. So I'm going to remove myself from the situation. I can respect that. And speaking from a person that much like yourself, I do get anxiety, like when I'm asked to do public speaking. But when I crack this microphone or the microphone on Hot 1029, I'm I can ramble all day and have a good time, but I do get that type of anxiety. So I understand where she's coming from. I probably can't understand the exact anxiety that she's having and that she's battling right now. But it's the same thing that I said about Aaron Rodgers. It's the same thing that I said about Russell Wilson. Somewhere there's a lack of communication. And what I have a problem with is with the French Open and Australia Open more or less ganging up on her by saying, well, if you're not going to talk at the French Open, and you better believe you're going to be talking at the Australian Open, or you're not welcome. But you know who came out and said we support Naomi Osaka? We'll be willing to work with her? The U.S. Open. I don't necessarily believe it's because, oh man, they're looking out for her best interest. That may be a part of it, but they know where their bread is buttered. They know if she's on that TV screen, they're getting Kevin Washington to watch. They're locking me in. I'm locking in for however long she's playing. So these U.S. Opens, Wimbledons, French Opens, Australia Opens, and Naomi, they need to do a better job of communicating with each other and saying, how can we make this work so I can still perform, so I can be on TV to give you guys the ratings that you need, and I can still compete at my sport. Because obviously right now, if somebody's willing to basically the number one player in the world, the number one player in the world in women's tennis decides, I'm not going to play in a major Grand Slam Open, there's obviously something wrong. There's obviously something wrong with her mental health right now for her to just say, I'm out of here. People don't throw those away. We hear about Tiger Woods and battling back issues. We hear about him not going to tournaments that aren't majors. But when there's a major, Tiger Woods shows up, because these things are valuable, not only valuable for them personally, but for their career as well, to be, quote unquote, the best of all time. That's why we talked about when Serena did the Serena Slam. She won them all in 1 year. Like, that's goals. That's big time moves for her. So you better believe that Naomi Osaka looked up to Serena. She wants to do the same things that Serena Williams accomplished, and Billie Jean King. She wants to do all those things, but obviously she's dealing with something. So you as an organization and her team, they need to communicate with each other. Like, look, she's going through some stuff right now. She's willing to play, but we got to figure out something together. And that's what I always say, man. Things like this, they can be worked out if you communicate. And there has obviously been a lack of communication or a miscommunication, or somewhere along the lines the communication broke down, which led to her backing out of the French Open.
Yeah, and communication is where it started too. And by the way, if we don't like something about our job and we go to social media and put our company on blast, there's going to be no there's going to be no peaceful conversations at that point when you embarrass your company.
She doesn't work for them. She's an independent contractor.
But it doesn't matter. You still fall under that umbrella. So here's what ended up happening, because she didn't communicate. Not blaming her. There's both sides to this. So what had happened is it was a Jay Adonde. I heard an interview with him earlier today. He goes, I'm not piling on her. He goes, but the mistake that she made is that the second that she was uncomfortable with this, she went right to social media and jumped out. She didn't make any attempt to reach out to any of the people in charge. So that pissed off the entire sport as far as that goes, because she went right to social media and right away it was just a crap storm on them, and they're trying to put out fires that they didn't even know were started, and had they they didn't even have their press releases ready to go to be able to respond to this, because they had no clue that there was even an issue as far as this goes. Now, again, I don't know all the behind the scenes stuff. I mean, it's known that she has dealt with mental illness in the past and that this isn't something that she's comfortable with. But to be clear, there's a lot of athletes that don't like this. The reason that a lot of players are supporting her is, for one, yes, you're supporting someone in need. You want to be there for them. them. But also, if it was up to the players, they would not talk to the media. Players don't like talking to the media. And that's the one thing that Jay Donde brought up today. And he runs all the he runs the sports media department for Northwestern, one of the top sports media departments in the country. And he goes on to say, if it was up to the players, they wouldn't talk to the media at all. And it's not even up to sometimes it's not Rob Manfred of Major League Baseball saying you have to talk to the media. It's, hey, Bryce Harper, you enjoy that contract? Yeah, the reason you got that money is because of all the money that came in from that TV deal and part of the TV deal. So like they're your boss. I mean, the ESPN, ABC, they're technically your bosses in these situations, whether we like it or not. And it is cutthroat. It is cold-hearted at times, but sometimes it's just very basic and very simple. To get this money, you have to do this. You have to talk to the media. You have to do this. And if you can't check off all of the, you're obliged to do all those things. If you can't do them, it's going to lead to a problem. But this is where the lines get blurred between trying to be a rational human being, trying to sympathize with somebody who's going through something, and then being a cutthroat corporate owner who's saying, no, screw you. You have an obligation to do this. And if you don't, we will fine you. You will not be able to play. And then that's where right now, because of social media, everyone gets to voice their opinion on this. It just becomes a crap storm, crap throwing storm. So this is why I said when I started this, it's a blurred line in the middle. I don't think it's ever going to be right on both sides. I don't sympathize with the players as much as what I most do, because it's part of it. If I look at a job description and I love 5 of the 6 bullet points of the job, but I really hate that 6th one, I can't accept the job and then use that 6th bullet point of what I hated as the reason for why I'm going to badmouth my bosses and badmouth my coworkers and say how bad this job is, when I understood it from the beginning. These athletes know that it's part of it. And by the way, you're completely right, because she's a superstar. She's one of the biggest names in tennis. She does move the needle, but it's all part of it. And that's the other thing. Because she's that big, it's even more important that she is the one speaking to the media. It's even more important that she's facing the media after, even for a simple, hey, how do you think you played? I played great. Thanks for your time. And off you go. It's unfortunate, because I think this has been blown up bigger than what it should be. I think that both sides played a role in it blowing up to this point. I do think players should speak with the media after. I don't think it's that big a deal, because there's nothing that this can't fix. No comment, or I'm not comfortable answering that question. And these players are taught that even in college, they are taught how to deal with the media. Chris Wright, close with him, who he is doing, he runs a lot of these AAU teams. He started his own prep team. I've told this story before, about a year ago or 2 years ago. In the middle of the summer, I went and helped out where he was trying to, teach his kids. He was trying to teach his players how to answer media questions, to make sure that you don't give media the answers that they're going to take and try to paint a picture of you.
Right.
Hey, I scored 35 points, but we lost. But man, I'm so glad I got my points. And then, radio host Boob Kinner says, oh man, he's a selfish player. They just got destroyed. And all he's talking about is his 35 points. So
how many rebounds?
How many rebounds? How many minutes? Oh man, but the coach only played me 35 minutes. I wanted 40. So with all due respect to the players, and again, the players don't like talking to the media, but it's just one of those things where they are trained on how to even respond to the media. But what's tough is if I'm an NBA player, I'm within a team environment. I have someone sitting next to me that's helping me answer these questions, someone with their PR department, whatever. You talked about it. She's an independent contractor. There's not someone there with the French Open that's a PR person walking these players around. You're kind of your own individual. Yeah. So it's a little bit of a different animal. It's one of those things where if mentally, and this is going to sound insensitive, and I hope it doesn't, but I know people will take into it. If you mentally cannot handle facing the media, the French Open, the tennis in general, can't just make an exception for you, because then everyone else is going to line up behind you and come up with the reason why they can't meet with the media as well. Why? I mean, because of that right there.
Well, they make exceptions for who they want to invite to tournaments. Like they give passes to whoever they want to bring in. If it's a big name that'll draw more viewers, they do that. They do that all the time.
But do I want the no-name tennis players being the face of the league or the face of the sport?
That's what I'm saying. They make exceptions to bring in more viewers. If you make an exception for a player that's going to bring in more viewers that doesn't feel comfortable in that setting, what's the difference? What's the difference if you're going to bend rules for an exception player? What's a difference between one exception and
You're almost
another?
being punished. I mean, when you are a superstar, you're almost being punished for that very reason. There's more on your plate. Middle of the pack guy like me, there's not a lot on my plate. There's no obligation. Like no one's dying to talk to Kinner, but if you're the LeBron James, there is a respect. He does have to face the media after. That's why this Kyrie thing is taken off the way it has, is because he doesn't want to face the media, and he's been getting fined and he's been getting gripped. And it's like, come on, you know what you signed up. This is part of it. This is a part of the sport. It's always been that way. But again, it's one of those things where I just think that once you give an inch, the players will take a mile. Right or wrong on the connotation on that, I'm just saying. But you know what? But that's in everyday life, a factory. Hey, we're going to give you, if you're late coming back from lunch, and I've worked in a factory setting too. And, I was 1 minute late coming back on multiple occasions, and you would have thought that I lit the place on fire. I mean, they didn't screw around, because if one person, and I'm using a factory, I mean, it's all lines where if one person comes back late regularly, then I see, well, if they're not getting on him for being late, right? Oh, I could be 5-10 minutes late. And then it turns into 15 minutes. And then it just turns into coming and going whenever you want. That's why these companies are just so locked in on, no, you're going to do it our way. And we're understanding that you're going through this, but this is part of the job description. You have to do this. I know exceptions can be made, but I don't think they're going to make exceptions for you said it yourself, one of the biggest names in the sport. How good is she to the sport then if she's not going to be one of the ambassadors of it too?
Well, this isn't an all the time thing. This is the first time this has happened. This isn't like, oh man, she didn't speak at the U.S. Open last year. She spoke at the U.S. Open, the Australia Open, which she won both. So this could just be a rough patch in her life. And
I get that, but it's led to the conversation of should they be forced to talk to the media? And it's like, okay, well, are you going to do this every time moving forward now? So I'm with you, but it's like I always say, if I'm on time to work, my boss doesn't say good job being on time today, but the one time I'm late, he jumps on my ass, and I'm like, what? I'm on time for 100 straight days, and the 101st day I'm late. Do you want to get on me? He's like, yes. Good job for doing your job the first 100 days, but you didn't do your job today. Do your job. So it's just, I don't know. So
since they're independent contractors, do you think that's something that Naomi Osaka, Coco Gauff, and Serena, they can work into their contracts with these tournaments to say, hey, I'm talking or I am not talking, or I'm talking on these days?
Don't you think if that was the case, it would have been done by now?
I have.
I don't mean that in a smart ass way. I'm just asking.
That's why I'm throwing it out there to anybody.
I just think
just like how in boxing, they're independent contractors. They choose who they don't talk to. They got the what do they call it on Showtime or HBO, the 24/7. Like, they don't do the interviews with ESPN constantly. They have their own thing that they built in with Showtime, and they do all their interviews with Showtime until they, quote unquote, need that last push on ESPN and everything like that. So since they are independent contractors, maybe that's something that maybe needs to be looked at. Maybe like, all right, I'll do an interview the day before a match, and that's how I'll do it, or I'll do them after a match or something like that. Maybe that's something that could be looked into. Like I said before, both sides of them need to communicate, and communication is the biggest key. And we all know this. I mean, when you communicate with people and you express yourself, 9 times out of 10, you can come to some type of an agreement. You can come to some type of meeting to say, like, all right, that can work for both parties. It may not be what the athlete 100% wants, is not what the organization 100% wants, but you can come to some type of happy medium. And that's where the miscommunication, not only between the French Open, but Naomi and her team came down. In my opinion, from everything that I read, there was a total lack of communication on both sides, where she was like, well, I'll just take the fines and I'll just continue playing. And it's like, no, it's not going to work like that. You're not just going to just cut us a check prior to and say, all right, check me out on game day. No, we're going to continually ask you after every match or every time that you're supposed to do an interview. We're going to ask you. You can't just give us this blank check to say, fill it out when we're done. Like, no, it's not going to work like that. So going into the next tournament, if she's still not comfortable talking, she definitely needs to reach out to that tournament and try to come up with something.
But see, when we say that, okay, but if she does, I'm just not comfortable talking to the media, then they're the bad guys if they come back and say, but that's part of the job. That's part of this. Like, and keep in mind, sometimes it's not even tennis that's making that rule. It's the TV, it's the media. That's where I was bringing up the TV deals for. Like, a lot of times, like, the reason that Kyrie's having to talk to the media after, that's because of the big $1 billion deal that they got done with. It was ESPN's requirement that they have access to the players, that they have access to the star players. Because if it was just a simple little bullet point of, well, we just want access to your players, they're going to send the bench players to the media afterwards. And man, what do you think about how your teammate LeBron played? No, it's KCP. In there. It's important about that. Now, Brian McCoy on Facebook, he asked if LeBron, Brady, and Trout said they were boycotting the media, would they also be threatened with not being able to play? I think not. But keep in mind, Brian, this was kind of brought to fruition last year during the pandemic when it came to play or not to play. the players started to realize, oh crap, we do want to kind of take a stance on this and not play, but at the same time, we can't crap where we eat because we have to talk to the media. We have to do certain things because if we don't do that and meet the requirement, we don't get our money. And that's where I don't want to use maturity because then it sounds like I'm saying she's not mature, but that comes from an individual sport where you don't have a team around you helping you make decisions like this. Like they have a players union in the NBA and LeBron knows what's better, when it comes to same thing in baseball. These guys, they know they have to. So LeBron probably hates meeting with the media, but he knows.
I think LeBron loves it.
He's about like Kyrie though.
Kyrie, KD. Yeah. I don't think that's really in their
Fair
bag.
enough. But no, Brian, I know what you're saying. I just don't think those guys would ever do that because keep in mind they know where their money comes. They have to butter the bread of the TV partners as well because LeBron knows with great power comes great responsibility.
Spider-Man.
And yeah, I'm using that line. With great power comes great responsibility. And some can handle that, some can't. And there's nothing wrong with her for not being able to handle that pressure from it, but at the same time, that is going to be something that keeps them from being able to use her in those situations, and maybe it's going to lead to issues. I just don't think that they're going to. So if they come out, Kev, if she asked for leniency on that, and they say no, I'm not going to say that they're in the wrong for that. I think they have every right to say no. It's part of you have to. Like when you agreed to play, it's not like we didn't have that in the fine print or didn't have it in the contract. Like that's part of it. Like you can't agree to play and then get mad when the things that you agreed to come up. But this is why I said earlier, the lines are blurred where there's going to be a bad guy or a bad person in this one way or another. And it's unfortunate, but that's just the reality of it. I don't think that the league or tennis, I don't get how all that works. I don't get that they would be in the wrong. I don't think they would be in the wrong if they just said, I'm really sorry. I'm sorry you're going through this. But no, you do. You have to speak with the media or you'll just be fined and we'll just move on with their time. And yeah, there was Skip Bayless today who said that, Michael Jordan, he would accept, or it was Jay Adonde during his every year he hated that the All-Star week, like Michael Jordan, but he knew the importance of the All-Star game and the All-Star festivities because it put the product on display. He hated that he had to meet with the media. It was $90,000 fine if you did not meet with the media. MJ is one of the richest guys in the entire world. He skipped media day every year for the All-Star game. He skipped it. He had the check for $90,000 already written out. He held it up. They grabbed it and he went home. He didn't meet with the media at all. He got rich for that all the time and off he went. And Michael also, I'm not going to say quit, but he stepped away from the league for a while because he couldn't handle all the media. He couldn't handle all the extra stress and the burden that comes with being who he is. So yeah, like I said, that's why I said she's being punished for being a star a little bit ago, and that's unfortunate because if Michael Jordan or LeBron says I don't want to meet with the media, I don't think that the league bows down to him. I think they're going to say, but you're LeBron, you are the face of our league, you have to meet.
Man, you had COVID and we let you play after going to a party with COVID.
Oh no, they've had a loophole out of that. All right, guys, we'll step away for a few moments. We talked about the dead period in the recruiting world coming to an end as of today. And the recruiting analyst for the Ohio State Buckeyes of Letterman Row, Jeremy Birmingham, he's going to join us top of the hour. He joins us next. I'm excited to see the direction of how the Buckeyes are approaching recruiting now that the dead period is lifted. And just how good of a job did they do during that stretch? Well, they have the number 2 recruiting class in 2021. And well, now they're sitting at number 2 in 22. So we'll talk about all that. Jeremy Birmingham, Letterman Row, Buckeye recruiting analyst. He joins us next.
Listen, stream, watch. It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash right here on Dayton's ESPN Radio, 1410 Wing AM.
Goodyear knows the importance of keeping momentum as you head down the stretch. Momentum starts with movement. It's pulled from the air like a contested rebound. Momentum builds with steals and fast breaks, and is proven by deep threes as the shot clock expires. Momentum is how we change the game, and now it's time to discover where it can take us. Goodyear, more driven. It's time for some straight talk. Sure, saving money feels good, but cutting your wireless bill in half, that feels really good. Like walk-off home run in the 9th inning kind of good. Okay, maybe not that good, but pretty darn good. With Straight Talk, you can get 25 gigs of high-speed data for $45 a month, up to 50% less than the other guys. Plus, no contract. All on America's best networks. Why pay a whole lot when you can pay half? Straight Talk Wireless. No contract, no compromise.
O'Reilly.
Get more miles on the road with O'Reilly Auto Parts. A clean fuel system means better gas mileage for your car. Right now at O'Reilly Auto Parts, get 2 bottles of Lucas Fuel Injector Cleaner for $8. Plus, earn double O Rewards points. For a clean, lubricated, more fuel-efficient system, stop by O'Reilly Auto Parts today or visit O'ReillyAuto.com.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Do you have foot pain? Foot pain is not normal regardless of your age or job. Podiatric physicians are the most qualified doctors to care for your feet and can provide important foot care solutions or shoe inserts to better manage foot pain. Ohio Foot and Ankle Medical Association podiatric physicians are located throughout the state and are dedicated to providing the highest quality foot and ankle care. We've been serving the profession and the public for over 100 years. To find a member of the Ohio Foot and Ankle Medical Association near you, visit associationsadvanceohio.com.
Cordell Transportation is now hiring Class A CDL drivers. $5,000 sign-on bonus. That's right, $5,000 sign-on bonus. Home daily dedicated lanes, no touch freight. Apply today at CordellTransportation.com. Cordell Transportation, driven to succeed.
Many Vietnam War veterans were unknowingly exposed to dangerous chemicals impacting their health and quality of life. There are now expanded benefits for veterans exposed to Agent Orange. Veterans with Parkinsonism, bladder cancer, or hypothyroidism who previously applied for VA disability compensation but were denied should reapply and might be eligible for retroactive compensation. Exposed veterans who have not yet applied should consider filing a new claim. For assistance, call Montgomery County Veterans Service Commission at 937-225-4801.
WING 1410 Dayton. Dayton's ESPN Radio.
Because it's my vision, I take the most studied eye vitamin brand.
Because it's my vision, I take the eye vitamin brand backed by 20 years of research.
Because it's my vision, I take PreserVision.
Age-related macular degeneration is the leading cause of vision loss in adults over 60. That's why the National Eye Institute did 20 years of clinical studies on the formula that's found in PreserVision. From the eye experts at Bausch & Lomb, PreserVision AREDS 2 formula eye vitamins contain the exact nutrient formula recommended by the National Eye Institute to help reduce the risk of moderate to advanced AMD progression.
Because it's my vision, I made a plan with my doctor that includes PreserVision. Find PreserVision in the vitamin aisle and look for savings on PreserVision AREDS 2 in your local paper. Available at Walmart.
These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
Hey, my name is Jonelle, and a little thing that I love about Chick-fil-A's new lemon kale Caesar salad is every tender, warm, juicy piece of grilled chicken. It's a Caesar salad, but it's different. You have the Parmesan breadcrumbs and the mixture of lemon with that romaine and kale. It's almost something I can't explain, but it'll make you want to sing. Lemon kale Caesar.
Order the new Lemon Kale Caesar salad on the Chick-fil-A app today. Available for a limited time. Real guests paid for their testimonial.
Introducing in-person payments from PayPal, a touch-free way for your customers to pay and tip. Whether you're a hot dog vendor,
mustard? You gotta have the mustard.
A personal trainer.
Don't you drop those knees, Sandra!
Or a boba shop.
Brewed to pearly perfection.
Signing up your business is easy. Simply download the PayPal app and display your own unique QR code for your customers to scan, pay, and tip too. Shop safe with touch-free QR code payments. Fees may apply. For more info, go to paypal.com/us/getQRcode.
Celebrate Jewish culture and community. Don't miss a Taste of Jewish Cultural Festival at Temple Israel on Friday, June 11th. During this special drive-through event, pick up food for the family with everything from traditional baked goods to food truck favorites. Enjoy children's activities, crafts, and the joy and inclusiveness of the Temple Israel family. A Taste of Jewish Cultural Festival, June 11th from 4 to 7 p.m. at Temple Israel on Riverside Drive. The last of 3 special drive-through community events. To learn more, visit tidayton.org.
Dell Technologies Summer Sale Event can save your business up to 45% on secure PCs built for business with Windows 10 Pro. Rise to the challenge. Call 877-ASK-DELL.
Maxwell. He was a runaway into rescue, great disposition. About 9 years ago, he was scratching a lot, and he started losing some hair. My vet, she said, oh, he must be allergic to the chicken. Another vet said, it's the grain. Third vet, she said it's the weather, something in the air. And then somebody said, DINOVITE.com. I had been listening to Steve Dynavite ads, hearing about different stories of different people, and it just clicked. I got my first 90-day supply, and it took a grand total of 2 weeks. And the dog stopped itching, the hair stopped falling out.
Dynavite is nutrition.
And Maxwell loves it. Now he's close to 10, and the Dynavite's a big part of Maxwell's diet.
Dynavite for life. You won't believe how happy your dog will be.
And he's a spectacular dog.
DINOVITE.com.
It's live, it's local, it's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, presented by Kirkland and Summers.
All right, hour number 2. It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, presented by Orion Sports Medicine. I hope everyone had a great holiday weekend. We're off and rolling here, off yesterday, 5 straight days off for us, and kind of recharge the batteries a little bit, and we are off and rolling. We got Reds baseball coming up here later on this evening. It'll be the Reds and the Phillies. 7:10 will be the first pitch. Keep in mind, we'll be coming on the air a little bit later tomorrow because the Reds have a 12:10 or 12:35 first pitch tomorrow against the Phillies as they wrap up that series before heading to St. Louis for 4. So a big stretch for your Cincinnati Reds coming up. We'll talk more Reds baseball coming up here around the corner. And we'll get back into this conversation regarding the, should athletes be forced to speak with the media? I think, look, I know everyone has their opinion one way or another on this, but I think it really just, it's simple. It comes down to it. These athletes make a ton of money. That money, yes, comes from their talent and everything else, but it also comes from the massive TV deals and those media markets, those media channels request and demand that, hey, we're going to be giving you these billion-dollar deals. We want access to your product. We want to talk to the stars. We don't want to talk to the bench players. We want to talk to the stars. And you get pushback from time to time. And, of course, it makes headlines. But I don't want to make light of the mental health situation involved in this particular conversation on the tennis side. But we will pick back up with that coming up here in a moment. So the recruiting dead period is officially over. And now coaches and recruiters can go and actually meet face-to-face with their players. And I'm sure that it was a tough stretch for them over this past year, having to deal with that, all the roadblocks in the way of having to recruit and build a roster for not just this season, next season, years to come, to do all of that without, flying anywhere, driving anywhere, meeting with anybody, bringing anyone on campus. Coaches and programs had to get really creative. But how about those who cover recruiting? That's what I would find most interesting, is how it totally changed their approach to all of this. And joining us now, he, of course, is the recruiting analyst for Letterman Row with the Ohio State Buckeyes. Joining us now, we have Jeremy Birmingham. Jeremy, welcome in, man. I appreciate your time today. How are you?
I'm doing well. How about yourself?
Good. So, look, this is a huge day. I'm sure the programs are super excited. Ohio State, Ryan Day and company, excited to finally get back to whatever normal is now moving forward when it comes to recruiting. But how about for you? They had to, not just Ohio State, but everyone had to change their recruiting approach throughout this past year. But how was it covering recruiting when there wasn't a lot of recruiting going on and not in your traditional sense?
Yeah, it's been a little different, obviously. We certainly have tried to move away from some of the minutia of the recruiting on a day-to-day basis and just cover the bigger picture stuff. And because ultimately all these kids are having conversations more and more than ever, actually, with college coaches. So there's at least some, consistent work to be done, because the coaches have been able to spend more time talking, whether it's over Zoom or FaceTime or whatever, than they would have in the past. But it's less quality as far as the interaction, I guess.
Jeremy, how many, and may not be a set number, but is there a good amount of examples of guys who committed to Ohio State that never really got the chance to meet with coaches? How is that for Ohio State? I know that's common for a lot of teams out there, but how common was that for Ohio State to get commits from guys that really never stepped foot on campus?
Well, I mean, it certainly happened a lot in the last year, and more so in the class of 2022, obviously, because most of those kids haven't been able to visit anywhere until today. But the Buckeyes, I mean, even in the class of 2021, the kids that have signed and are already on campus in a lot of cases, like Denzel Burke from Arizona or Travion Henderson from Virginia, these kids, they didn't even get a chance to visit Ohio State before they signed a letter of intent and enrolled at the school. So it's been a very unique situation for those kids. Fortunately for the class of 2022 and kids like CJ Hicks down there in Archbishop Walter High School in Kettering, like he was up there this morning. I mean, it's June 1 and dead period's over, and he got in the car and got to Ohio State first thing this morning. So they're going to take full advantage of this month of June in these 30 days and be there as much as they can.
So what about you? Does this open up the door for you to kind of hit the road? I'm sure you're going to be enjoying covering a lot more of these stories minus all the Zoom calls, correct? Or are you going to be a little bit more cautious with your approach to all this as well?
Yeah, I mean, we've done a little bit in the last few months. I've been down in a number of the national recruiting camps in Atlanta and Phoenix and a few other places. Next week, I'll head down to the IMG Academy in Bradenton for their Future 50 camp, which is basically the top 50 players in the class of 2023. Then the opening, which has sort of always been the preeminent college combine / recruiting camp, which was obviously didn't happen last year, is back for the end of this month, and that's out in Los Angeles. So I'll head out there at the end of the month for that. But it's really just about getting an opportunity to be at Ohio State, watching the kids that are camping and are working out for the Buckeyes coaches and trying to make sure that their stories get told so people know who they are, because even the kids that don't end up being Ohio State caliber a player, which certainly there are not many of them around the country, those kids, the media that they get at those events helps promote those kids for other schools, for Cincinnati's, for Miami of Ohio's, for Toledo's. That's how they learn a lot about these players. So there's a lot of residual value for those kids just to show up and for the media to be able to be there.
We have Jeremy Birmingham with us, Ohio State Buckeyes recruiting analyst for Letterman Row. Look, I think this comes for me, this comes from the trust that we have within the Ohio State Buckeyes program that I should feel more nervous. Look, there's no more Justin Fields, but we've seen some great quarterbacks over the last decade for Ohio State that come and go, and yet we've never been let down once in this past decade as far as the transition from one great quarterback to the next. And we should feel uncomfortable right now. There is no more Justin Fields, but it's like we've kind of grown this trust with the program that when you look at guys like whether it's Kyle McCord, CJ Stroud, Jack Miller, or even, the Quinn Ewers kid for the class of 22, we're confident that no matter who steps under center for Ohio State, that's going to be one hell of a talented kid right there. What is your takeaway right now as far as how crowded and how talented this quarterback room is for Ohio State, even before the top quarterback in Ewers gets on campus for next season?
It's impossible to discount the talent that you have with C.J. Stroud and Jack Miller and Kyle McCord for sure. C.J. Stroud was out in California this weekend at Steve Clarkson's quarterback retreat. He's one of the big-time quarterback trainers on the West Coast. Quinn Ewers was there working out, and C.J. is a kid that apparently I was not there, but from what I did talking to people there, he was one of the more impressive of the college students who were there as counselors. And you're right. I mean, Ohio State has proven over and over again that there's not a lot of reason to be worried about the next guy up because they do have a lot of talent. And I think it's funny because, honestly, 10 years ago, we wouldn't have thought that a three-man quarterback room was too stacked. We would have thought that was a player short. And now, because the way college football is changing, you have to do a lot of ego juggling and roster management to make sure that you hold on to all three of them. So I was talking to someone this morning about the class of 2023. And, Quinn Ewers obviously is the number one ranked player in the class of 2022. You know what you have there. But as the Buckeyes enter June, looking to try to figure out who their class of 2023 quarterback will be, if things go well, they're recruiting a kid who they have to tell, you're not going to play here for 6 years. And
be patient. Kids love that.
and that is an incredibly interesting conversation because aside from the fact that these rising juniors have 2 years of high school left to play, the goal would be you don't play at Ohio State until Kyle McCord and Quinn Ewers are gone. So you're talking about 6 years to develop a kid and his patience and the relationship and his game. So it opens up a lot of doors for the Buckeyes to figure out the best way to go out and find the right fit for the room. And maybe in this instance, one that doesn't offset the balance that's already there. Oklahoma, for example, in the class of 2022, after signing the country's number one ranked quarterback in the 21 class, in Caleb Williams, they just decided not to take a quarterback last year. And that's a risky proposition. But you may be able to get by because right now they're the front runner for the number one quarterback in the class of 2023. So there's a lot of different maneuvering happening in these college recruiting rooms and the discussions they're having.
Yeah, when you talk about maneuvering and everything else, the quarterback room, and things always have a habit of taking care of themselves a little bit. Just hopefully whoever leaves Ohio State isn't the Joe Burrow of the group that goes on to win a Heisman and a national championship and goes on to be the number one overall pick in the NFL draft. But I am curious your thoughts on what's your gut telling you about, the Sarkisian at Texas. Obviously yours, doesn't look at Texas, looks at Ohio State. Is there any concern out there that, Texas might be kind of catching his ear a little bit, especially if whether it's C.J. Stroud, Miller, or McCord that has a breakout year this year? I mean, that quarterback room is stacked. Could he look back at Texas and potentially go back there?
I mean, Quinn has been pretty adamant that he's not looking, but of course it's hard to discount that entirely when you're talking about a kid from the state who grew up wearing the burnt orange and being a Longhorns fan. But he's been pretty clear that he's comfortable in his decision. Texas has not sat idly by. They do have a commitment from a five-star quarterback in the same class. So to go ahead and continue recruiting Ewers would risk losing him and Malik Murphy, their quarterback that they have committed from California. And I think that there's some discussion at Texas about maybe putting that to bed and putting all of their efforts into trying to lure Arch Manning in the class of 2023 to Austin instead.
All the skill guys get all the love, the running backs, the quarterbacks, the wide receivers, but everybody knows if you don't have the big guys up front blocking, opening up holes, helping protection for the QBs, who are the potential new Buckeyes going to be looking at?
You broke up a little bit there. What was the question?
I said all the skill guys get all the love, but who are some of the potential offensive linemen the Buckeyes are looking at?
Well, right now they only have one offensive lineman committed in the class of 2022, and that does make things a little bit precarious as they head into this June. They need a handful of guys, especially true offensive tackles. There are a couple in the state of Ohio, Ryan Bear from up at East Lake North High School that they're talking with, and he'll camp this next weekend. Carter Smith from Olentangy Liberty High School outside of Columbus worked out for the Buckeyes this morning and was earned an official visit invitation. So they're at least considering a potential offer to him. But the real big fish is Zach Rice, who's a five-star offensive lineman from Lynchburg, Virginia. He's the number one ranked player in the country at his position. He's going to make his official visit to Ohio State this weekend, and he'll be there with 12 of the Buckeyes' 2022 commitments. So it's really their opportunity to show him what they're building from a, brotherhood type of standpoint. So that's really the goal. You really want to go out and hit a home run with him. There's also Emil Wagner down in Dayton at Heber Heights Wayne High School who has an offer from the Buckeyes. He's a really athletic, maybe a little bit more raw player than a guy like Zach Rice is, who might be more ready to contribute. But it may be a class where we see the Buckeyes turn to the state of Ohio as far as filling out the offensive line.
I got two questions for you about the transfer portal. We've seen guys like Jamison Williams go to Bama, Mookie Cooper to Mizzou, and Tariq Johnson still kind of TBA. We saw guys go out, but we haven't seen too many guys come in. Are there any guys in the transfer portal that the Buckeyes are looking at?
There's still a discussion, I think, ongoing about Paulier Neoteote, who's a linebacker from USC. Who's in the transfer portal, former five-star number one ranked linebacker in the class of 2018. He has a couple of injury issues that slowed him down at USC, and he has not made a decision yet. That was seemingly between Ohio State and Texas. And so I think that if there is any interest for Ohio State in the portal, that's really the only place it's going to be. But they're just trying to figure out if it makes sense to upset the current chemistry for a player that maybe doesn't necessarily enhance the room all the way. It might just be a position or a role player type. It's a linebacker position that needs some help, however, because, you're playing long snappers at linebacker in the spring game. So they definitely know that they could use some help at that position. But that's pretty much the only spot I'd see them working.
What is the coaching staff stance with the transfer portal? Because we hear so many stories about, hiring guys to, look strictly at the transfer portal, kind of like as a free agency situation. What is the coaching staff's stance on the transfer portal with that?
They're certainly going to always keep an eye on it, because it's going to be something that becomes a part of college football. But the Buckeyes don't want to develop a habit of going out and building a team from the transfer portal. Certainly, if you can enhance from that spot, like they did with Jonah Jackson or Justin Fields or Trey Sermon, then you do it. But it's not something that should be a regular part of what they're trying to do. They're not going to be holding back scholarship spots for guys in the transfer portal. They're still going to make it their focus to recruit high school athletes and then develop them. But clearly they've shown that if a guy is the right fit and he's in the portal, then they'll go get him. And that's what you're going to have to do when it comes to college football.
Yeah, it's interesting seeing the approach from college basketball for the portal versus college football. College basketball, a little bit more drastic. Some programs coming out saying they're not even going to recruit high schoolers anymore. Football is a little bit more, we're going to plug some holes with the portal. We're not going to make the portal our premier path as far as recruiting is concerned. Last thing here, Jeremy, on the way out, this is a non-Buckeye question technically, but it's interesting. You look at the top 10 recruiting classes of 22, and of course you have your Penn State in there. There's Ohio State right there at the top, but Rutgers right there. You look at the job that Rutgers is doing right now. Rutgers is always the butt end of a lot of jokes when it comes to the Big Ten. That's an interesting program right now that I'm keeping an eye on, just because it's kind of cool seeing them kind of make some noise out on the recruiting trail. What are your thoughts and takeaways as far as the rest of the Big Ten on your way out here?
Well, I think that Rutgers is a prime example of one of those schools that is comfortable building from the transfer portal because you have to. But then you have to win games, and none of that other stuff's going to matter if you don't go out and win some games that maybe you didn't win last year. Look at that Rutgers-Michigan game from a year ago. And if you want to excite kids about staying home in the Northeast and going to Rutgers, if you want to be able to go out and win a couple battles along the Eastern Seaboard against Maryland and other schools like that, Penn State that always thrives well there, you're going to need to win football games. And you look at Tennessee, and last summer, Tennessee was one of the top 3 ranked recruiting classes in the country in the class of 2021. But then you go out and your program still stinks and you fire your coach. None of that really matters.
All right.
So you got to go win. You got to go win football games.
All right, good stuff. Jeremy Birmingham, give him a follow on Twitter. He's the recruiting analyst covering Ohio State for Letterman Row at Birm, BIRM on Twitter. Give him a follow. Does an awesome job covering all things recruiting for your Ohio State Buckeyes. And now things are going to get a lot more interesting now that the dead period is officially over. Jeremy, thanks so much for your time. We'll talk soon. I appreciate it.
No problem, guys. Thanks.
All right, that was Jeremy Birmingham again, Buckeye recruiting analyst for Letterman Row. Awesome enough to give us some time here this afternoon. But yeah, look, we talked about the approach to the transfer portal as far as college basketball is concerned. I think, and by the way, there's such a big gap between the top premier programs and even the programs like Rutgers, who they're taking advantage of the scraps that are leaving these bigger programs. And by the way, when you're transferring out in football, the guys leaving in football are uber talented, man. Like, I'm not saying that in basketball they're not, but like the guys leaving football, I mean, look at the guys that have transferred out at Ohio State. Those have been some painful exits, but it's like there was no room for them. I'm not saying they couldn't figure it out, but those guys want to go somewhere where they're going to be the premier guys. And you look at programs like Rutgers, good for them for being willing to step up and try to fill some gaps in the transfer portal.
Indiana too.
Yep. And you get those big names, you win some games with them. Now it increases your property value. It increases your product, right? And then all of a sudden doors will be open more out on the recruiting trail. But yeah, Rutgers is a top 10 recruiting class for the class of 22. That looks weird. It looks strange seeing Rutgers there at the top of the recruiting rankings as far as that goes. But yeah, the transfer portal, it's definitely impacting college basketball more than football. I think the transfer portal helps college football, and I think it hurts college basketball. I think both can be. I mean, there's so many different sports out there. I think it hurts and helps different sports in a lot of different ways. Basketball, I don't think it's healthy. I think basketball, this is as unhealthy as basketball has ever been at the college level. I think this is about as healthy as college football has ever been. Is because the portal now, we've talked about. I mean, look at the quarterback rooms. Look at this quarterback. I appreciate the optimism for Birmingham when it comes to the quarterback room. Those three aren't going to be there.
Right.
CJ Stroud, Jack Miller, and Kyle McCord. And I'm not confident Ewers is going to be there long term. Like, I think that these four guys, there's two of those four are going to stay. Two are going to bounce. I don't think that we're going to see all four of those guys stick out 3 years when it comes to Ohio State, nor should they. But good for them for coming to try to compete for a spot. Like, I love that Joe Burrow tried to truly compete, and it was a respectful exit. It wasn't like, oh, I'm not getting my way on a pout. It's like, hey, I graduated from Ohio State. I stayed here. I competed every year. Didn't work out. Cool. And I think there was a mutual separation that worked out for both sides, obviously. So
once a Buckeye, always a Buckeye.
Unless you're Tate Martell, as far as that goes. But no, I'm pretty pumped about this quarterback battle moving forward for Ohio State. Let's do a little over-under NBA playoffs, a little Buckeye talk as well within the over-under. We got a lot coming your way. Don't go anywhere. More of the Justin Kinner Show presented by Orion Sports Medicine when we come back.
It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash on 1410 ESPN Radio.
O'Reilly. This is Sarah's O'Reilly Auto Parts story.
Driving cross country with 2 young children is ambitious, to say the least. Then our check engine light came on. We pulled into O'Reilly Auto Parts and they tested it. Turned out it was a faulty sensor. They referred us to a great mechanic just down the street and we were back on the road in no time.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
I can't take this anymore.
I have nowhere to go. I lost my job.
I feel alone.
The Crisis Text Line is here to help day or night. Text 4HOPE to 741-741 for free and confidential support. Text with a trained volunteer to move from that hot moment to a cool calm.
Save today on your next project with 11% off everything now at Menards. Get a natural wood look with the added protection of AC2 treated lumber for your next outdoor project. Nobody stocks more pressure-treated lumber than Menards. And right now, save with 11% off. Start saving with 11% off everything now at Menards. Good through Saturday, June 5th. Savings are mail-in rebate. Some exclusions apply. See store for details.
Save big money at Menards.
Listen to this station anytime, anywhere on Odyssey. Odyssey is your new audio home for all the music, news, sports, and podcasts that matter to you. Odyssey. That's AUDACY.
Attention Class A CDL drivers. Looking to be more than just a number? Yoel Transportation in Dayton is looking for drivers with at least 1.5 years experience. Yoel has open positions for no-tarp flatbed drivers and no-touch regional or local van drivers. Yoel is ELD compliant and offers 401k with match, medical, dental, vision, holiday pay, vacation, safety bonuses, and now has a rider policy. Call Rick or Joe at 937-294-5933 and ask about the $5,000 sign-on bonus today.
It's Mattress Firm's best Memorial Day sale ever. For a limited time, save up to $500 on top-rated mattress brands like Sealy and Sleepy's.
ESPN 1410 Wing AM weather.
This afternoon will be mostly cloudy, a high near 75. Tonight's going to be cloudy with showers, a low near 58. And tomorrow's going to be cloudy with showers, a high around 72. I'm Pete Spivak for 1410 ESPN Radio.
Summer is about relaxing. Just you and your thoughts.
Boring. Luckily, summer is also about America's Got Talent.
Are you ready?
Mind-boggling acts.
Put on your seatbelts.
Huge surprises. And $1 million on the line. So don't just summer. Summer with AGT. America's Got Talent, summer's #1 show, premieres tonight on NBC.
Life hacks. What would life be without them? Like using candle wax to loosen a stuck zipper. Here's another life hack. Now you can get the same high-quality insurance from Allstate, but at a new low rate. With Allstate, you can lower your rates, not your expectations. Visit Allstate.com or call an agent for a quote today.
In most states, prices vary based on how you buy. Not available in every state. Subject to terms, conditions, and availability. Allstate Fire and Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates, Northbrook, Illinois.
Hey, my name is Jonelle, and a little thing that I love about Chick-fil-A's new Lemon Kale Caesar salad is every tender, warm, juicy piece of grilled chicken. It's a Caesar salad, but it's different. You have the Parmesan breadcrumbs and the mixture of lemon with that romaine and kale. It's almost something I can't explain, but it'll make you want to sing. Lemon Kale Caesar.
Order the new Lemon Kale Caesar salad on the Chick-fil-A app today. Available for a limited time. Real guests paid for their testimonial.
Credit Karma Money is a brand new checking account where you can win cash reimbursements for making purchases. When you use your Credit Karma Money debit card, you can win daily instant karma purchase reimbursements on items up to $5,000. Right now, visit creditkarma.com/winmoney. That's creditkarma.com/winmoney. Instant Karma is sponsored by Credit Karma. No purchase necessary. Exclusions and terms apply. See rules. Banking services provided by MVB Bank Inc. Member FDIC. Maximum balance and transfer limits apply.
All right, listen up, people. Sean Avery here. If you enjoy alcohol, chances are at some point you've been hungover, torn up, in the Hurt Locker. Well, here's a little secret. Goodies hangover powder relieves pain fast, helps wake you up, and it tastes good. I'm not kidding around. You got a case of ginfluenza, bourbonitis? No problem. Get Goodies hangover powder. Real medicine for real hangovers.
Goodies Hangover, aspirin and caffeine in powder form. Place on tongue and take with water. Hangover responsibly. Find it at Dollar General.
Because it's my vision, I take the most studied eye vitamin brand.
Because it's my vision, I take the eye vitamin brand backed by 20 years of research.
Because it's my vision, I take PreserVision.
Age-related macular degeneration is the leading cause of vision loss in adults over 60. That's why the National Eye Institute did 20 years of clinical studies on the formula that's found in PreserVision. From the eye experts at Bausch & Lomb, PreserVision AREDS 2 formula eye vitamins contain the exact nutrient formula recommended by the National Eye Institute to help reduce the risk of moderate to advanced AMD progression.
Because it's my vision, I made a plan with my doctor that includes PreserVision. Find PreserVision in the vitamin aisle and look for savings on PreserVision AREDS 2 in your local paper. Available at Walmart.
These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
Cordell Transportation is now hiring Class A CDL drivers. $5,000 sign-on bonus. That's right, $5,000 sign-on bonus. Home daily dedicated lanes, no-touch freight. Apply today at CordellTransportation.com. Cordell Transportation, driven to succeed.
We're taking the masks off and putting the sunglasses on. Excited to see family, travel, or attend a ball game. You deserve your best vision. Dr. Patrick Spencer of EyeWorks Laser and Vision Center has 23 years of experience in cataract surgery with multifocal lens implants. These premium lenses allow you to read a menu and drive without glasses. Dr. Spencer is the area's 5-star eye care provider. Call 937-226-7870 because at EyeWorks, it's about seeing your best. Visit eyeworkslvc.com.
There's never any FOMO with the iHeartRadio app. You won't ever have to miss out on your favorite shows and contests with this radio station again. Radio 24/7, 365. We're here when you want us. Stay connected and listen anywhere when you download the free iHeartRadio app.
Jay Farner here, CEO of Rocket Mortgage and Rocket Companies. Last year, we saw historically low mortgage interest rates. What you may not know is that interest rates are already starting to increase, and it's likely that trend is only going to continue. Our team of experts is standing by to help you save before rates go up. Don't look back and wish that you had taken action. Call 833-8ROCKET or visit rocketmortgage.com.
Rocket. Call for cost information and conditions. Equal housing lender licensed in all 50 states and MLSConsumerAccess.org number 3030.
Want to hear something amazing? Discover matches all the cash back you earn on your credit card at the end of your first year. Automatically. Dollar for dollar. With no limit on how much you can earn. Extra cash. Come on. How amazing is that? In fact, it's even more amazing when you realize all the places where Discover is accepted. 99% of places in the U.S. that take credit cards. So when it comes to Discover, get used to hearing yes more often. Learn more at discover.com/yes. 2021 Nielsen Report. Limitations apply.
Whether it's next day delivery or getting involved in their local communities, Napa goes above and beyond to serve you because their motor never quits. That's Napa know-how.
He's a former Buckeyes great and now a college football Hall of Famer. And don't forget about his 13 years of NFL experience playing for the Eagles, Dolphins, Jets, and the New England Patriots. He's Dayton's own Keith Byers. Hang out with him every Monday at noon on The Keith Byers Show, presented by Lee's Famous Recipe Chicken. All sports, all the time. This is 1410 ESPN Radio.
All right, everybody, welcome back. Justin Kinner, Kev Nash with you here on Dayton's ESPN radio station, 1410 Wing AM. We're also Dayton's home of the Cincinnati Reds. Reds-Phillies tonight, game 1 against, or game 2, I should say. The Reds, of course, won yesterday's game 1 matchup at home against the Phillies. Looking to keep that going here this afternoon. They'll close out the series with the Phillies tomorrow, 12:35 the first pitch. And that'll kind of bleed into the start of our show, so we'll be on about 4:30 tomorrow, so keep that in mind. Thanks to Jeremy Birmingham, covers all things recruiting for the Buckeyes on Letterman Road. Does a fantastic, him and Austin Ward, two of the best out there. Appreciate both of their time whenever they come on. But with the dead period being lifted, now coaches can officially go out and actually meet with players and actually, and kind of do their job. But the one thing, what I meant to bring up, Kev, is the fact that Ohio State, I'm not saying that they weren't impacted at all by COVID from a recruiting standpoint, but Ohio State is the kind of school and the kind of program that the program sells itself. Mm-hmm. There's not a whole lot about the program that these high-star athletes were already familiar with. Sometimes it's a lot of regurgitating stuff that these players know about the program, just more in a salesman type of way. I think that there are programs that players are going to be very confident going to without stepping foot on campus to begin with. I think Ohio State's okay. I was going to continue asking Birmingham these questions, but I got to thinking, I'm like, I don't think that Ohio State missed out on any player because of COVID. I don't think that they missed out on a guy because of COVID. I could be wrong on that. I don't follow recruiting religiously, but I'm just saying, like, it's one of those where you look at the teams that had the most success. It's your traditional programs. It's your traditional powers. I was expecting to maybe see a program kind of sneak up on some of those to maybe take advantage of the fact that in-state guys couldn't travel. Right. I thought that we were going to see more teams, your non-traditional teams, kind of load up on some talent and maybe take advantage of the local talent from a standpoint of, okay, these kids aren't able to travel. They're not able to fly all over the country. They're not able to go on official visits and step foot on campuses. Maybe we should try to go after some kids we normally don't get and try to keep them home and take advantage of the fact Ohio State's fine. I mean, you look at Georgia, number 1 recruiting class in 22. It's Georgia, Ohio State, LSU, Notre Dame, Oklahoma, Penn State. Rutgers is the only team that's out of place. That's the only team in the 22 rankings that's out of place. And, Cincinnati comes in at number 19. Alabama's at 16. Keep in mind, you're going to have those ebbs and flows from a recruiting ranking standpoint because sometimes you don't have a lot of, scholarships available for particular classes. So I find all that fascinating. I don't think Ohio State was impacted at all from COVID as far as that goes. So it'll be interesting to continue following that.
Yeah, we got some recruiting news, actually the transfer portal news. Former 5-star tight end Eric Gilbert, he's transferring from LSU to Georgia. So he was a 5-star tight end just last year.
For what class?
Class of 21. Yeah.
So this is coming up right away. And
Yeah. So, and also the cornerback from Clemson, I lost the article that quick, but he was a 4-star corner coming out. Now he's transferred to Georgia as well. So Georgia is cleaning up in the transfer portal as well.
And that's the thing. Like, that's where you're going to see I think that those programs are going to really just kind of swoop in and make those kind of impacts right there. Because keep in mind, there is a gap. It's a small one. Like, you have your Ohio States, your Alabamas, your Clemsons.
Right.
And then there's Georgia and LSU and Penn State and some of those programs right behind. The programs that are going to benefit the most from the portal are going to be your Penn State, so they should be. Georgia's cleaning house. Good for them. LSU should be able to clean house. Good for them. Those are the programs that are going to benefit the most, because what ends up happening is, if you look at the quarterback room for Ohio State, for instance, you have, McCord, you have CJ Stroud, you have Jack Miller, you have the Ewers kid from Texas coming in next year. It is a jam-packed quarterback room. That's just one position at quarterback. That's the same thing at wide receiver, same thing at running back, same thing at defensive back, and everything else. All those guys aren't going to play.
Right.
And with the transfer portal being so loosey-goosey right now, that's where the Georgias of the world, who, by the way, Georgia and them, they load up on their recruiting classes too, but they're not as deep. Georgia is always as good as Alabama and Ohio State competing for these 4- and 5-star kids, but they're not as deep. Okay. This is where I think that Georgia and Penn State and others, they can close that gap because they can go to the third string quarterback that is good enough to be the starter for any other team in the conference and say, come be our guy. They can go to the receivers. They can go to the defensive backs, the running backs, the offensive linemen, even though that sounds like that's kind of concerning. Did you hear that?
Yeah.
The most concerning part about the Buckeyes recruiting the most concerning Buckeye bullet point in regards to recruiting is the fact that they only have one offensive lineman for the class of 22 right now. I'm not saying that they're not going to clean that up or whatever, but it's that's you a little concerned.
Definitely.
I mean, part of the reason that Ryan Day has had the epic success that he has had since transitioning, taking over for Urban Meyer, is the fact that you had your Josh Myers and you had your NFL talented, loaded offensive line. That's gone away now. So that's going to be the big question mark there. We'd like to talk about the position players. You brought it up. Everyone talks about the running backs and the wide receivers. Well, it's going to be that offensive line that I'm not going to sit here and pretend to be very familiar with. I don't think anyone out there wakes up and says, got to know everything about the Buckeyes offensive line. But we should, because the team's going to live and die by what that offensive line does. And they're replacing a lot of guys.
Wyatt Davis,
I don't care how good Travion Henderson
Myers.
is. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Look out. A lot of guys that are going to be starting in the NFL this upcoming season, and we have to replace them. And, you talked about it before, just us like automatically putting our faith into the program of Ohio State, not only the players, but the coaches. And, it's kind of like a plug and play situation. I struggle with that sometimes. My fandom wants to just say, all right, man, we just gonna plug and play. We're just gonna keep this train rolling. But I've seen too many programs be here and be down here
quickly. One bad recruiting class.
Something goes wrong. You only recruit one elite offensive lineman and he gets hurt. And then you're throwing in me and you out there to block. And then everything goes to Kaputsville.
Yeah. And by the way, the one good thing about if Ohio State is very weak in a certain position, on the recruiting trail, as far as guys coming out of high school, you could plug gaps very quickly. Transfer portal, like I said, the transfer portal is going to be healthy for college football. I do not think it's healthy for college basketball. That's just my kind of 2 cents on that. So there's that. But 457-9464, who we have on hold?
We got Jeff. He wants to talk about some Buckeye recruiting.
Jeff, welcome in, man. How are you, man?
Oh, we lost
Jeff Ray.
Jeff.
All right, we'll get back to more of your phone calls coming up here in a moment. 457-9464. But yes, Ohio State number 2 recruiting class for 21, and again, a lot of expectations for some of those guys coming in right off the bat, obviously. But Travion Henderson, I'm really excited about. I think he can make some noise right off the bat. We saw J.K. Dobbins make some noise as a freshman right off the bat. I remember his first game; it was a Thursday night at Indiana. Ohio State played very sluggish in the first half. Remember how ugly that first half? And then he just had a breakout second half. And they blew Indiana out that game. But that was not a blowout game.
Right.
That was a biting your nails game, and especially in the first half. Ohio State looked really rough in that first half. And then, of course, J.K. Dobbins had that breakout game, which was pretty cool. I think we're going to see some similar things from Henderson, who's a bigger back and stronger and better coming out of high school. We'll see just how the development is of him moving forward. Let's do a little over-under. Kev Nash brings you over-under.
Kev Nash brings you over under.
All right, Kev, it's our over-under segment. We got NBA playoffs mixed in here. We got some college football stuff. We even got, there's a lot of NBA stuff, but it is interesting because the NBA playoffs are about to come to an end here in a couple of days if LeBron and the Lakers get bounced. So kick us off, Kev. Kev Nash brings us over-under.
All right, number 1, the Lakers will most likely be without Anthony Davis in tonight's pivotal Game 5 versus Suns. LeBron James is averaging 27.5 points, 8.5 assists, and 3.5 turnovers. Over or under LeBron hitting his averages in Game 5?
All right, over under again. As far as the 27.5 points is concerned for LeBron James, I'm going to go on the way over on this. I'm going to go on the over on this because mainly with no Anthony Davis, LeBron James is going to have to pick up the scoring load. He's going to, and see what drives me nuts about LeBron, it's what makes him great at the same time. He feels out the game early in the game. He'll take what's there offensively as far as, attacking the bucket's concerned, but he's looking to get his assists in the first half. He knows the importance of getting the shooters hot early. He knows the importance of getting the guards kind of rolling and getting Anthony Davis his points down low. That's why his assist numbers are so high. I don't anticipate him having a lot of assists tonight. I think he's going to be well over the 27.5 points. I think he's going to be about that 34, 35 point range tonight because for when he has to, I'm going to say the 8.5 assists. I'm going to take the under on that, and I'm going to take the under on the 3.5 turnovers, mainly because you're not passing the ball as much. You're not they're not releasing that ball as much. I'm going to take the under on the turnovers. I'm going to take the under on the assists. I'm going to take the way over on the 27.5 points. I think he'll finish about 35 points tonight. I think he'll have about 6 assists, maybe a turnover or 2. I'm not going to predict that. But nonetheless, LeBron, they have to have a big game. You know what's funny? I love Chris Broussard, one of my favorites. I hated watching him leave ESPN. In fact, one of his final days at ESPN, he was actually speaking here at Wright State University for their tip-off banquet before he took the Fox job. But he tweeted out today that LeBron's going to have to go back and, we're going to have to go back in time to get LeBron if they want to win tonight's game. Before LeBron got hurt in March, he was the MVP favorite. The guy was not there's no signs of aging with him. If you want to talk about maybe the injuries or signs of aging, but I mean, hell, you look at Zion Williamson, who's 15 years old, and he's injured all the time. I'm not a big believer in the injuries are a sign of fading. I think it could be just his durability might be taking a hit because he's played 17 seasons. He's played a total of 21 years in the NBA if you add the entire playoff career of his together as well. He's in full force every single night. If they lose tonight, it's not because LeBron didn't go back in time. It's going to be because you don't have Anthony Davis and the Suns are playing just knockout basketball right now, and that the Lakers are not as good as what even I thought that they were. I'm not making excuses. The bottom line is I hate when we try to push athletes out the door. We did it with Kobe, and it drove me nuts. Kobe was not slowing down at the time that he was, he did eventually start slowing down, but that was actually slowing down when he was averaging 21 points a game. That's slowing down. LeBron's not slowing down. In fact, you could argue his stats are better than when he even was in the middle of the Miami Heat run because his assists are higher than they've ever been. His rebounds are higher than they've ever been, and he's still averaging over 25 points per game. I don't know why we obsess so much with pushing these guys out the door. Enjoy the greatness of LeBron right now because, yes, he's older, but I don't think that he's aging, and I don't think he has to go in a time machine to get his talent back like it's Space Jam to be able to win a game tonight. I think it's ridiculous. If they lose, it's going to be because he didn't have the support around him that he needed to win that game. He's going to get his. I don't think that that's going to be a concern tonight.
I'm going to go over on the points. I'm going to say 38 points for LeBron tonight. I'm going to go under on the assists as well, but I'm going to go over on the turnovers. I think his usage rate is going to be through the roof this game because he's going to have to. The way that the Phoenix Suns are playing offensively, he's going to need to pace himself and keep pace with them. And the way you do that is put the ball in LeBron's hands. You don't have that Rajon Rondo like you did last year to really run the point. So he's definitely going to be, he's always the point guard, but he's definitely going to be facilitating everything for everybody. And the way you get those shooters involved, he's going to try that, and I don't think his shooters are going to be there to bail him out. Well, I shouldn't say bail him out. They're not going to be knocking down shots unless KCP is the guy knocking down shots because he's the most consistent shooter on that team, and he hasn't been shooting well either. So I think he's just going to have to score and score a lot. I think we're going to see shades of LeBron, that game that he had against the Celtics where he came out on monster mode and scored 40 in the first half. I think he's going to need that type of performance to beat the Suns tonight.
All right. Kev Nash brings you over, under. We'll continue it. Kev, what's up next?
We got number 2, Quinn Ewers. Am I pronouncing his name right?
Who?
Quinn Ewers.
Quinn Ewers. Yep.
Quinn Ewers, the number 1 quarterback prospect in the class of 2022. Right now, today, he's a Buckeye, but the Ohio State Buckeye quarterback room is full. Jack Miller, CJ Stroud, Kyle McCord. A breakout season from one of those guys may put Ewers question mark being a Buckeye. So over or under, 1 game started as a Buckeye for Ewers.
The comparisons I've heard of Ewers is he has Trevor Lawrence type talent.
Ooh, I'll take that.
Trevor Lawrence type talent doesn't sit for a year. Justin Fields type talent doesn't sit for a year. That's why he transferred out. He wanted to be the guy, and he knew he wasn't going to be the guy. And it's one, so next year, if you look at this situation, if you want to look at a pecking order, okay, I think CJ Stroud's going to have a humongous year for Ohio State. The run game, between the receivers that he has, and I'm basing all of this off blind faith of the job that Ryan Day and his recruiters have, and his coaching staff has done, because it's just plug and repeat. That's what Ohio State does. That's what Bama does. That's what Clemson does. Ohio State has earned the benefit of the doubt as far as that goes. It's going to be a fun transition year going from Justin Fields to most likely CJ Stroud at this point. But whoever the quarterback is, if it's CJ Stroud, if the depth chart is CJ Stroud, Jack Miller, and Kyle McCord, Kyle McCord's a really good quarterback, okay? So you get another year out of CJ Stroud or whatever. So this will be his 3rd year, correct? So are we only going to get 1 year out of CJ Stroud most likely?
No, this is CJ Stroud's second year.
So you're going to get
redshirt freshman.
Okay, so you'll get him this year and next year, and then if he's really, really good, he'll go to the NFL, and then that's where everyone's anticipating the year of 23 for Quinn Ewers to take over. Quinn Ewers isn't waiting a year. I think Quinn Ewers is going to kind of sit back. He's verbally committed to Ohio State right now. Like, he's looking at the situation. He knows that if C.J. Stroud has this big breakout year, and those receivers and running backs aren't going anywhere, they're stacked moving forward. He's not beating Stroud out for the job his freshman year, and he's good enough to do it, but we're not going to, you know what I mean? We're just not going to see it. So I think I'm going to say under. I don't think Quinn Ewers takes one snap for the Buckeyes. And that, by the way, it's not the end of the world. It's not the end of the world. This is a good situation to be in if you're Ohio State. It was just like with Joe Burrow. Man, I can't believe they lost out on having Joe Burrow. They had Dwayne Haskins, who was a Heisman finalist, who was pretty damn good. And if Ohio State didn't crap the bed against Purdue, they're in the college football playoff, potentially fighting for a national championship. So I have no issue with this if it plays out that way. But I'm going to say the under. You said the over-under was 1 as far as Quinn Ewers taking a snap for Ohio State. I'm saying the under. I don't see him being a Buckeye. I think at some point he ends up with Sarkisian in Texas.
I'm taking a look at all the teams really hard recruiting him because, I mean, he has 30 offers. So according to 24/7 Sports, obviously the Buckeyes, Texas, Bama, Arizona State, and Auburn are teams that are recruiting him right now. Those teams aren't going to stop calling him just because he's committed to the Buckeyes. They're not just going to pack it in. They're telling him exactly what you just said. There's a ton of guys in that QB room already. I'm going to go under as well. I don't think he ever even comes to Ohio State. I don't think he shows up in Columbus. I think he eventually signs somewhere else that he can come in there and potentially start right away and try to get his talent going and make it to the NFL sooner than later.
Yeah, because again, by him coming in, I mean, he watched Trevor Lawrence. He watched Justin Fields and that play out. Justin Fields didn't play right away, but the Justin Fields, he doesn't want to be Justin Fields. Right. He wants to be Trevor Lawrence. And technically, Trevor Lawrence didn't start right away. Technically, Trevor Lawrence, Kelly Bryant. Kelly Bryant was the quarterback for Clemson when Trevor Lawrence got there. Kelly Bryant lasted, I think, 1 or 2 games, and then it was handed off to Trevor Lawrence. And by the way, Clemson, they changed quarterbacks. They were undefeated. They were undefeated that year. They didn't lose a game that year. That's how cutthroat you have to be as a head coach at that level. This is why Urban Meyer, I knocked him a lot because I didn't think he had the cojones to make the decisions that guys like, Dabo Swinney at Clemson had to make. Kelly Bryant, an experienced quarterback who waited his turn, finally gets his opportunity, didn't do anything wrong, was averaging 300-plus passing yards a game, was averaging 2.5 touchdowns a game, and he got replaced by a freshman because Dabo knew that's our best chance to win a national championship is this guy right here. And I just don't think that, I do not think that Ewers is going to want to go sit a year. I think he knows he's good enough to play. That's what all the scouting reports on him say. I'm saying the under. He's not going to play one snap for Ohio State. And by the way, that's not me hating. That's a good thing. That if he doesn't, that's how good the quarterbacks are right now. Right. And if he does, it's a win-win for Ohio State because if he's their quarterback, that's a great thing. And if he's not their quarterback, that means the quarterbacks they have right now are so good that there's not a path opening up for him to be their quarterback, just like with Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow leaving, I never thought that he wasn't good when he left. It's just there was too much depth and someone had to get the job and someone had to leave. Haskins, had Joe Burrow won that, Dwayne Haskins was a Heisman level quarterback that was going to leave to go take a job elsewhere. So like I said, this isn't a problem. It's just kind of a, who you feel more comfortable with.
Yeah, it's a math thing. It's a math thing as well. You got 3 quarterbacks in the room that are all freshmen. Mm-hmm. Like 2 of those dudes aren't going to be here. You know what I mean? So, and then you got recruiting guys for the year after him and the year before it. So it is just a math thing, and it's not a him thing. It's a situation. Well, I guess it is a him thing. He wants to play. He wants to have a situation where he can come in and play right away. And Ohio State, from everything that we know about the Buckeyes and the way Coach Day run things, they're going to score a lot of points, and the quarterback is going to be a baller. So if the quarterback's already a baller, it's going to take a lot to take that spot from him. So I just don't see him setting foot on campus at Ohio State. Number 3, DeAndre Ayton has been the breakout star for the Phoenix Suns. There's a lot of big names in that Suns and Lakers series. You got Chris Paul, you got Devin Booker, obviously LeBron James and AD, but he is averaging 20 and 13 for the series. Under or over DeAndre Ayton hitting his averages in Game 5 tonight versus the Lakers?
When you talk about DeAndre Ayton, first of all, I don't think enough is being made about the job he has done because keep in mind,
on 81% shooting.
You look at the big that the Lakers went and got from the Pistons or from the Cavs, Drummond. Drummond's been badass for the Lakers too. The problem is that Drummond's style of play doesn't really uplift the Lakers to playing the style that puts them in position to win ball games. But Ayton has had to not only deal with Anthony Davis, he's had to deal with Drummond, and Drummond is a freaking beast. Like Drummond is an old school, like Drummond is a less talented Ayton. Ayton is an old school post player as well. He's not going to live out on the perimeter. He's going to use his athleticism around the rim. And to be honest, he's been beat up a couple times. He's been out-muscled by AD at times when he's wanted to man up and take you down on the block. He's been pushed around by DeAndre Ayton. And you think he's playing bad, and there's times where I'm like, man, he just doesn't look the part down there. Then you look at the box score, I'm like, the dude's carrying them during big stretches, especially late in games. I'm going to say tonight it's definitely going to be the over, because with no AD out on the floor, that's one less gigantic big. And again, AD does a good job of using his length to push you away from the bucket. Drummond sits back and lets you kind of muscle him and back down. And I think that helps Ayton, because Ayton can get on the block and make his move towards the bucket. It's where Anthony Davis does a good job of using his length to keep him off the block. He's going to live on the block tonight, so I'm going to say he's going to get the over. I still think the Lakers going to win tonight. I just think that, these are the type of games that LeBron just kind of knows that he has to elevate. I'm a little concerned about long-term the Lakers' chances if this groin's going to be an issue. But I'm going to say the over. I think the stars are going to shine tonight. I still think that LeBron gets the best of the Suns tonight, though, overall. But I think expect a big night from Ayton, especially with no AD out on the floor.
Over. Way over.
Way over.
Way over. Way over. I see DeAndre Ayton eating tonight. I believe that the Lakers' best chance to win this game is to go small and basically put 4 shooters on the floor and let LeBron go to work.
Yeah, Kuzma, by the way, needs to freaking play. Not play. He needs to
he's
produce.
In the game.
He needs to produce. Like that's
he's on the court.
But continue. My bad. Continue.
But yeah, I think they need to go ahead and go with 4 shooters around LeBron. That means Morris? He's gonna. I would say he's gonna be playing a lot of the 5. Gonna be giving a lot up on defense, but he can knock down shots, and that will also open up the driving lanes for LeBron. And I think that would be the best way for the Lakers to win that game. But in hindsight, them going small, if Ayton was already eating, he's going to feast tonight if they go small. But I really think that's what the Lakers are going to do. And I still think that if the Lakers are going to win this game 5, because if they don't win game 5, might be early. Like you said, the NBA season might be ending early in a lot of people's opinion. But I'm going to go with over.
Not happening.
I'm going with over with DeAndre Ayton hitting his averages for tonight. Pivotal game 5 versus the Lakers. So, you got something else?
Unlike your GOAT, my GOAT doesn't lose in the first round. So I'm just saying that I have no concerns whatsoever. Little adversity never hurt nobody.
Yeah, that is true. That is true.
The Suns, though, man, this is the problem for LeBron and the Lakers, having to face. I mean, this isn't your typical. Keep in mind, yes, talk about LeBron's first round record, but LeBron's always on the higher seed.
Right.
LeBron, I think this is the lowest seed he's ever been on in the first round. So this is a much different scenario where he's always the 1, 2, or 3 seed. So yes, he's undefeated in the first round of the playoffs, but that's because you're always the top seed. You're always going up against the team that you're favored against. So that's going to be interesting to see how this all pans out. But I still think the Lakers come out on top, but they're going to get beat up, and it could be a rough second round for the Lakers whenever that time comes.
Yeah, I've been saying Lakers in 7 the whole time. I still think it's going to end up that way. Number 4, fan altercations has been headline news, from popcorn to racial slurs to spit. It's been crazy out there. So over or under 1 fan altercation happening in tonight's playoff games?
I have no clue why basketball, this is the only sport that this is happening in, because there has been live entertainment that has come back since. It's not like y'all forgot how to act, right? Like I don't know what it is. I don't know. I mean, look, I haven't really tried to buy. I have yet to buy into race being a part of the reaction from some of these fans, but I do think this past year where the players were speaking out against things that a lot of people did not agree with as far as the NBA stance, it's pissed a lot of people off. It's angered a lot of people. And I never am one to always buy in and say that everything is race related, but I do think that the NBA players have upset a good chunk of the fans over the last year. Not saying it's right. I'm just saying it's so many people spoke out against that. And I think that there's just this weird little dynamic and dislike between the players and fans at times that has led to some of this. And the NBA players, they've called out. I mean, to be honest, right or wrong, the NBA players have called out their own fan base on more occasion than any other sport out there. I've never heard baseball players call out their fans. I've never heard the football players call out their fans. I'm not saying what the NBA players have called their fans out isn't wrong. I'm just saying there is a weird dynamic between the NBA players and its fan base that's different than any other sport at times. I'm not defending what the players or what the fans are doing. This is absolutely ridiculous. I just don't get why is basketball this? Why is this happening in basketball? Because it didn't happen in college football. It didn't happen in the NFL. It didn't happen in baseball. Why is it happening in basketball? Why is this happening in this particular sport? I don't know what it is. I don't have a set answer. I'm going to say the under. I just think that it's gotten too much attention. But then again, it could be the over because I just feel like it's escalated. I feel like the fans are trying to outdo what the fans the night before did. But these guys are idiots. You're getting prosecuted. You are actually getting jail time for this. This isn't just a slap on the wrist and don't come back here anymore. You are literally getting, I mean, they're speeding up the process too. I think it's a mess. I think it's a joke. I don't think you're going to see it at college. I don't think you're going to see UD fans throwing batteries or throwing cups or throwing stuff at the opposing team's players when we come back. I don't know why NBA fans don't know how to behave themselves. This is a very strange thing. Think about it. No other sport this is happening. It didn't have the NFL had near full stadiums. There was none of that. Baseball, they've been close to full capacity. I mean, it's been 40-50% for a lot of teams. There's been no altercations there. There's been your typical fan versus fan arguments in the stands, but that's on the non-COVID year. That's the norm anyways. Right. I just don't get it. I don't understand what's going on. I heard Brian Windhorst earlier today talk about how that because it has been limited fans, that there has not been the full security that's usually on hand for this. I don't know if that has anything to do with it too. So I'm appalled by this because I just don't get it. What is it about? I mean, have the NBA players upset their fans this much to the point to where there is actual disdain? Like, as a Browns fan, I can't stand the Bengals, but there's not one player I would take something and throw at. That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. I have no clue why fans, drunk or not, would get so angry that you feel like you have to go attack a player on the floor. I do think there's a weird dynamic between the players and the fan base. Maybe not your particular players, but Kyrie is a very interesting cat. He doesn't have a lot of supporters around the league. I'm really curious what his own fans think of him half the time. So if in Westbrook, look at the guys that people are going after. It's your typical kind of your polarizing figures in the NBA. It's not your randos in the league. It's set guys that have rubbed people the wrong way. So I find that interesting.
Yeah, it's very strange times. And I'm not going to let these people off the hook by saying, oh, man, they're drunk. No, man, if something's inside of you that says you want to spit on another person, remove the fact that he's an NBA player or he's a famous person or whatever the case may be. If something inside of you makes you that angry, you want to spit on another person, there's something wrong with you. It's not the alcohol. There's something inside you that you need help with. You need to go seek some counseling for your anger because that's insane. I'm going to say it like this. I'm not condoning violence. ... But people don't get punched in the face enough because if you're at the basketball court playing a pickup game and somebody dared spit on you, it is a fight. It is going down. I don't care how old you are, how young you are, whatever the case may be. That is insanity. The popcorn thing, hey, man, it was stupid. I'm not going to say like, oh, it's cool, but okay, like I've seen it before. Okay, whatever. The water bottle, still a little irritating. Seen it before. Okay. The racial slurs that John Morant's family had to deal with. No, not happening. The spitting thing, there ain't nothing.
By the way, that's even a bigger problem. I mean, that's gross and wrong no matter. But you had the fact that, you know, you had people getting arrested for going around coughing on people during this pandemic. That's unbelievable.
He was second row, courtside. Those tickets are probably like, I don't know, $7,000. And you spitting on people? You spitting on people? That is insane to me, man. But anyway, I'm gonna go with the under. And just like one of my best friends said, you have too much faith in people. He said over. I'm going to go with the under. I'm going to say people will be controlled tonight for the most part in these NBA playoff games.
Yeah, absolutely. And we have one more. And then the last one here on the over-under. A lot of interesting talk out of Bears camp right now. Justin Fields really impressing a lot of individuals. Over-under 15 games as the starting quarterback for the Chicago Bears in 2021 for Justin Fields. Over or under? You're saying over.
Way over.
So that means he is the week one starter for the Bears.
We got the appropriate music for a Buckeye starting quarterback. Yeah,
week one starter. He's the week one starter for the Bears.
Put some respect on
How
that.
about some interesting takes right here? Justin Fields is Tim Tebow.
Huh?
You heard me. He's Tim Tebow.
Don't disrespect my quarterback like that.
So Tim Tebow has the number 1 and number 2 jerseys sold in the NFL right now. You know who has 3, 4, and 5? Our guy, Justin freaking Fields, baby. Now, he's no Tim Tebow, apparently, because he comes in at 3, 4, and 5. No, Tim Tebow has
4 and 5?
Tebow, yeah, because
the
it's
blue one, the white one, the orange one?
the different jersey. Yeah, because that's what always threw me off, too. And then they have the, women jerseys.
Okay,
jerseys.
got it, okay.
But the top 5 NFL products being sold right now, 1 and 2 is Tim Tebow, and then 3, 4, and 5 are all Justin Fields. And by the way, that means something, because that right there is an indicator of, like, we mock Tim Tebow. Does he deserve this? Does he deserve that? If the fans like you, that's a barometer. That's a meter right there that you're following right there. There's interest there. So clearly, he's going to be given an opportunity that maybe others don't. Justin Fields, same thing. This is a business move. If the Bears said, even if he's not ready, we got to roll with him because the fans are excited. Our brand is jacked up right now. Like, we feel pretty good about this. Justin Fields, I'm taking the over. He'll be the week 1 starter for the Chicago Bears. And that's not look. We're talking about Andy Dalton. Yes, that was a great addition. That's a good quarterback to get if you had nobody else. But the Bears found themselves in a situation to move up to get a guy that should have been taken in the top 10, should have been taken in the top 5, should have been taken well before the rando that the Jets took at number 2 from BYU. I think this is the best case scenario. Justin Fields not only plays more than 15 games for the Bears. Again, injuries can happen. I don't want to be, you said he was going to play more. Of course, we can't account for injuries. Kev, he's going to win Rookie of the Year.
Ooh, you putting a lot of smoke out
because
there.
He's the only rookie quarterback. By the way, that's not true. If Trey Lance starts for the Niners, he's probably winning Rookie of the Year. But I think it'll be the 2 best quarterbacks in this class early on are going to be Justin Fields and Trey Lance, and that's just because of the situations they found themselves in. But yeah, when I found that out today, I'm like, man, Tim Tebow has the number 1 and number 2 sold highest sold jersey sales. Justin Fields comes in at 3, 4, and 5. Good for him. Good for him.
Gracious.
I'm taking the over, though. I just think that there's some buzz and excitement picking up right there. And
man, March 25th, QB1 tweet came out from the Bears. Guess not.
We are 100 days away from kickoff. 100 days away. It was a bad day for Browns haters, by the way. Another list came out. Another top 5 player in the NFL at a position for the Cleveland Browns. Remember, everyone gave me crap about it. I said the Browns have one of the best safeties in the NFL. Oh, he's about top 10. But no. He's legit. Go Browns. Sucks to be Bengals fans, man. They say, Joe Burrow's throwing in practice today. He looks great. He doesn't look any better than Brett Favre in those Wrangler commercials. And they're throwing a football with no pressure around him. What are you talking about, people? Calm down. All right, we'll be back in a moment. More of the Justin Kidder Show with Kev Nash, presented by Orion Sports Medicine. We'll be back in a moment.
Listen, stream, watch. It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, right here on Dayton's ESPN Radio, 1410 Wing AM.
It's time for some straight talk. You've got real work to do, but everyone's sucking up the free Wi-Fi faster than a Mocha Choco double frap on ice. So be your own hotspot. Now with Straight Talk Wireless, get 10 gigs of hotspot data with the ultimate unlimited plan. Just $55 a month on America's largest and most dependable networks. You don't have to find a hotspot. You are the hotspot. Straight Talk Wireless. No contract, no compromise.
Compatible device required. See straighttalk.com.
WING 1410 Dayton's ESPN Radio.
It's time to thrive outside. Spending time outside, like at an Ohio State park, is a natural way to boost your mental health. Just 15 minutes in nature can restore you. The parks are for everyone to enjoy. Visit detourtrails.ohiodnr.gov to connect to a trail near you. Need more help? Call the Ohio Care Line at 1-800-720-9616 for free emotional support. Sponsored by the Ohio Departments of Natural Resources and Mental Health and Addiction Services. Aired by the OAB and this station.
There's nothing better than a fresh-made home-style meal, but not everyone loves the hassle of cooking. At Lee's Famous Recipe Chicken, home-style happens here with our famous 12-piece family meal at a great price. This famous family meal includes 12 mixed pieces of Lee's fresh, never frozen chicken that is honey-dipped, hand-breaded, and cooked to perfection, plus 3 large sides and 6 fluffy biscuits. Get a home-style meal made easy today with Lee's 12-piece family meal at a great price. Only at Lee's, famous for chicken.
You have empty office space to fill or home office to create. You know what you need. You know what you'd like. But you also have a pretty good idea after you've shopped around the usual places what you need and what you like might not happen. Well, then you haven't been to Charles Larrick's Warehouse Outlet. Nobody has their selection. Nobody has their discounts. And every week there's something new. If you need office furniture, Larrick's Warehouse Outlet can sell it to you for half the price and below manufacturer's selected prices. Half price and below on hundreds of items. Selection from budget to the best. Really, desks from $50 to $5,000. Filing cabinets from $25 to $500. Before you go anywhere else, do yourself a favor and come to Larrick's Warehouse Outlet. With 25,000 square feet of selection, you're not going to go anywhere else. Larrick's Warehouse Outlet at 23 McOil Avenue, Dayton. Open Monday through Friday, 9 to 6. Larrick's, continuing the tradition.
Hi, Pete Kasugi here to tell you that if you're looking for the very best selection of your favorite garden plants, we grow over 125 varieties of tomatoes, peppers, cabbage, broccoli, cucumber, okra, cantaloupe, and eggplants. And if you haven't tried our famous Neighbor Beater tomato plants, come out and pick up a few and enjoy the best taste you ever had from your garden. They taste so good you'll wish you planted more. And remember, Neighbor Beater garden plants are sold only at our garden center at 1309 Brand Pike. So get out that shovel and start digging. It's time for gardens, bedding plants, rose bushes, vines, and ground covers, shade trees and shrubs, bird baths and fountains, and so much more. So join the green revolution and come out and see us at 1309 Brand Pike.
Many Vietnam War veterans were unknowingly exposed to dangerous chemicals impacting their health and quality of life. There are now expanded benefits for veterans exposed to Agent Orange. Veterans with Parkinsonism, bladder cancer, or hypothyroidism who previously applied for VA disability compensation but were denied should reapply and might be eligible for retroactive compensation. Exposed veterans who have not yet applied should consider filing a new claim. For assistance, call Montgomery County Veterans Service Commission at 937-225-4801.
I'm not going very far. It's too uncomfortable. I'm in a hurry. Sometimes I just forget.
There's no such thing as a good excuse for not buckling up. You're not only putting yourself at risk of injury or death, it could also cost you lots of money. Cops are writing tickets, so why take the risk? Do the smart thing and start buckling up every trip, day or night. Click it or ticket. Paid for by NHTSA.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Welcome to AutoZone. What are you working on today? So you're looking for more out of your battery? We can help. If you're in need of higher performance, we'd go with Duralast Platinum. It's the best choice for premium power designed for your vehicle. And the line now includes EFB and AGM technology, which means we've got the right Duralast Platinum battery for you. And they're only available here at AutoZone. That's why we're America's #1 battery destination. Claim based on data from the NPD Group 2020.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Attention Class A CDL drivers. Looking to be more than just a number? Yoel Transportation in Dayton is looking for drivers with at least 1.5 years experience. Yoel has open positions for no-tarp flatbed drivers and no-touch regional or local van drivers. Yoel is ELD compliant and offers 401k with match, medical, dental, vision, holiday pay, vacation, safety bonuses, and now has a rider policy. Call Rick or Joe at 937-294-5933 and ask about the $5,000 sign-on bonus today.
Whether it's next day delivery or getting involved in their local communities, Napa goes above and beyond to serve you because their motor never quits. That's Napa know-how.
All right, is that a Q2 or Q3 expense?
Dwayne's CPA went MIA.
No.
To keep his books and his sanity, he needs to find a replacement ASAP.
Hey, Johnny, Have you ever heard of a fungible good?
Indeed can help him hire the people he needs.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. When you sponsor a job, you immediately get your short list of quality candidates whose resumes on Indeed match your job criteria. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
I can't take this anymore.
I lost my job.
I feel alone.
Crisis Text Line is here to help day or night. Text 4HOPE to 741-741 for free and confidential support. Text with a trained volunteer to move from that hot moment to a cool calm.
Because it's my vision, I take the most studied eye vitamin brand.
Because it's my vision, I take the eye vitamin brand backed by 20 years of research.
Because it's my vision, I take Preservision.
Age-related macular degeneration is the leading cause of vision loss in adults over 60. That's why the National Eye Institute did 20 years of clinical studies on the formula that's found in Preservision. From the eye experts at Bausch & Lomb, Preservision AREDS 2 formula eye vitamins contain the exact nutrient formula recommended by the National Eye Institute to help reduce the risk of moderate to advanced AMD progression.
Because it's my vision, I made a plan with my doctor that includes Preservision. Find Preservision in the vitamin aisle and look for savings on Preservision AREDS 2 in your local paper. Available at Walmart.
These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
Cordell Transportation is now hiring Class A CDL drivers. $5,000 sign-on bonus. That's right, $5,000 sign-on bonus. Home daily dedicated lanes, no-touch freight. Apply today at CordellTransportation.com. Cordell Transportation, driven to succeed.
This is Edwin Moses, Olympic champion and world record holder in the 400-meter hurdles. I'm a proud Daytonian, and I've got an important message today for men, especially you guys over 40. As an Olympian and physicist, I focused on my numbers for most of my life. Over 400 meters, 10 hurdles, 13 steps, 122 races over 9 years, 9 months, 9 days. I ran and I won. Now I focus on my most important stats: blood pressure, blood sugar, cholesterol, and PSA levels. Those are the numbers that really count. So if you don't know your numbers, now is the time. See your primary care provider regularly to stay on top of your game, because no matter your age, every day and every number counts.
This message is brought to you by Molina Healthcare and Community Health Centers of Greater Dayton.
It's Mattress Firm's best Memorial Day sale ever. For a limited time, save up to $500 on top-rated mattress brands like Sealy and Sleepy's.
Hey everybody, it's Stephen A. Smith, and everyone knows my feelings on Cowboys fans. But really, Justin Kenner, you're a Cowboys fan and a Browns fan? Good Lord have mercy. I don't know what the hell to do with y'all. I really don't.
It's the Justin Kenner Show with Kev Nash. Weekdays from 3 to 6 p.m. on 1410 ESPN Radio. College football playoffs, Browns, Bengals, Buckeyes, and more. Catch the Keith Byers Show Mondays at noon on 1410 ESPN Radio. It's live, it's local, it's the Justin Kenner Show with Kev Nash, presented by Kirkland and Summers.
If you're a Browns hater, it's a tough day to be a Browns hater, I tell you. You know, and what's interesting, Kev, I posted something the other day. It was a simple graphic that compared Baker Mayfield to Dan Marino. In fact, in their first 3 seasons, only 2 players in NFL history have at least 75 passing touchdowns with 11,000 passing yards with a QB rating of 89. Baker Mayfield and Dan Marino. That's all I posted. Bengals fans have nothing. I mean, because they try saying he can't throw. That's not true. You know, that he's a bum quarterback. That's not true. They're never going to make the playoffs with him. That was proven to be wrong. Well, if he gets to the playoffs, he's not going to win in the play. He won in the playoffs. I know, Bengals fans. It sucks to be you guys. It does. Especially, it just does. I get it. I feel bad for you. But this is where you guys embarrassed yourselves. Not all Bengals fans are the same, but the loud minority, they win every time. Dan Marino, Baker Mayfield. So instead of saying, oh, wow, I didn't realize that. No, Bengals fans right away. Yeah, how many Super Bowl rings does Dan Marino have? So this is how dumb some Bengals fans are. That their hatred for Baker has led them trying to water down the success of one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time in Dan Marino. They would rather try to convince you that Dan Marino is a bum than to admit that, oh, wow, I didn't realize Baker's numbers were on pace with Dan Marino's. Like, that just absolutely infuriates Bengals fans. And then they just throw logic out the window, and then they show everyone how intelligent they are. Not really. So, again, I didn't even go at it with them on there. I just simply pointed out that I feel bad for you. That's an embarrassing fan base of a team that's won 6 games in 2 years. Just showed a graphic about the Browns and Baker Mayfield. Had nothing to do with them, but they had to chime in and remind me that Dan Marino won 0. Yeah, use a team award to take down the success of Dan Marino, one of the best of all time. Yeah, that makes sense. So, Bengals fans, when you sit there and try to convince me that Dan Marino is no good just because you hate Baker that much, that just shows what I don't even know what to say. I'm embarrassed to share a division with you. I really am. It just, I'll take the Steelers fans on their worst day over you on your best. It is just absolutely embarrassing that Bengals fans on Facebook would try to diminish the accomplishments of Dan Marino just because Baker and him have the same numbers 3 seasons into their careers. It is absolutely astounding to me that they would stoop that low. That they would try to convince you that Dan Marino's no good. I'm embarrassed as a Browns fan to be a fan of a team that shares a division with them. I'm not even sympathetic for him, Kev. I don't even feel bad for him. I'm just embarrassed for him.
So
thoughts?
So, okay. Are you a stats guy? Does stats tell you everything you need to know about a player?
I think that they are. I think that's the base of all that's the base of the tail of the tape right there. We could sit there and it depends what you're using too. I mean, if you're going to sit there and say, well, Tim Tebow is a winning record as a starting quarterback in the National Football League, that's where, and back when Schlemmer and I did the show, we always preached you can always make numbers sing and dance, but at the same time, we're not talking about rando numbers here. We are talking about passing yards, we're talking about touchdowns, and we're talking about QB ratings. Like, those are 3 very, I don't know how I'm making those sing and dance. I'm not making touchdowns sing and dance. This is why Bills fans got so irritated at me, and they thought I was trying to bash their guy Josh Allen. I wasn't bashing Josh Allen. I was simply pointing out that everyone that tried to say that Baker is nowhere even close to being as good as any of those quarterbacks in that draft, I simply pointed out that Baker has more passing yards. He has more passing yards than Josh Allen. He has more passing touchdowns than Josh Allen. And rather than those fans say, oh, wow, I didn't realize that, they right away just went into, you're an idiot, I can't stand you, blah, 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 blah. And I'm just like, oh, why? Because I simply pointed out that, and they said, oh, yeah, well, you missed some very important metrics. I'm like, you mean passing yards and passing touchdowns and QBR? Those metrics mean nothing. I'm not saying that the other metrics don't mean anything, but to sit there and say that those metrics that I used are just lazy. No, you're allowed to be, when the information is that easily in front of you, you're allowed to be lazy. What else do you want me to say? That's like saying, well, James Harden, he scores a lot of points, but he's not good as so-and-so because he doesn't run as fast. So what the hell does that have to do with it? It's like they had to cherry pick the next easy thing to try to discredit. I didn't say Baker was better than Josh Allen. I simply said I was even taken back by the numbers of Baker Mayfield being better than Josh Allen's 3 years in. And that's even with that horrific year that he had in year 2. So the same thing right here. I simply posted a graphic. I was kind of thrown off by the fact that, oh man, that's interesting. I didn't realize that the only 2 quarterbacks to throw for that many yards and that many touchdowns with that high of a QBR is Dan Marino and Baker Mayfield. And Bengals fans showed how little they know about football by chiming in. And there you go.
For me, I think that Baker Mayfield is a very good quarterback.
He's not Dan Marino, by the way. Not what I'm saying. He is not Dan Marino.
No, I wasn't going to go there. I think it says a lot about Dan Marino to put up those type of numbers in the era of football where it was run first and where this era of football is pass first. So I don't want to take anything away from Baker Mayfield. I want to prop up Dan Marino. And, guys like Johnny Unitas who put up numbers that are still up there to this day in a league that was handed off 40 times, handed off 50 times. Matter of fact, look at Fran Tarkenton. Fran Tarkenton was a running quarterback, and he still has passing stats that rival today's players. So I prop those guys up that put up those type of crazy numbers back then in a league that was run first. Now, for a player like Baker Mayfield to put up stats comparable of a Dan Marino, that's impressive. I'm not like the biggest stats guy. Like when you hear me talk about a player, that's not going to be my first go-to. I think stats are part of the picture, but I don't think they're the ultimate picture. I think I'm a, you know what I'm saying, this is a lame thing to say, but I'm an eye test guy. I watch the game. I get a feel for the game. I mean, in today's football, if your quarterback isn't passing for 3,000 yards a game, there's like, what's wrong with him? What's going on? That's not how you play quarterback. But in a different era of football, that was perceived as a outstanding day. So in the era of passing the ball, your quarterback should be putting up like crazy numbers. And I respect the fact that Baker Mayfield, not only his rookie year, but he was able to bounce back from a crazy sophomore year to have an outstanding season in his third year in the NFL. And then when you put up numbers that are on the same par as a Dan Marino, you can't do nothing but respect it and just take it for what it is.
Definitely not saying Baker is Dan Marino, but when people try to make Baker out to sound like he's some trash QB, I just can't wrap my head around that. And I'm going to defend my dude. Baker is my dude. Like I'm a bigger Baker fan than I am a Browns fan. I mean that is what it is. But I'm also realistic. When Baker was playing bad last year, trade his ass. All right, that was me. That was me. Last thing here. So Pro Football Focus, which by the way, keep in mind, Pro Football Focus a year ago, Kev, was Bible. It was a Bible. Remember, Bengals fans, that was their Bible. In fact, there were a lot of, when they would walk into a church, they would not bring a Bible. They would bring printouts of Pro Football Focus because it told them what they wanted to hear about their improving offensive line, which was garbage. It told them what they wanted to hear about everything else. Remember, that Pro Football Focus was Bible, and I mocked it. This year, Bengals fans are mocking it. So the safety rankings came out from Pro Football Focus today. Keep in mind the Browns have the best run game in football. They have the best offensive line in football. They have a top 10 quarterback. All right, that drove people nuts. They have good wide receiving core, of course. They have one of the top tight end units in football. And now on the defensive side, top 10 pass rushing team. One of the best secondaries, top 5 secondary combined unit in football. And now they have one of the top safeties in football, which is what I was preaching from the very beginning. They have the third best safety in football, according to Pro Football Focus. All right. John Johnson comes in behind Harrison Smith of the Vikings and Justin Simmons of the Denver Broncos. And that is Justin Simmons is. Bengals fans are super upset. I have one guy tell me I need to be drug tested. Laugh my effing A off. If you think John Johnson is better than Jesse Bates, I need ESPN to drug test you immediately. I don't know what Pro Football Focus is smoking either. They have Minka Fitzpatrick at 8 on that list as well. Again, I didn't make the list, but I'm using your Bible against you. That's what I'm doing. I mean, this is a Bible. I mean, the Bible can't mean one thing one year and not the next. I mean, so it's only, and this goes back to what we all do with stats and numbers, making them sing and dance. Numbers are only credible when they tell us what we want to hear. And when they don't tell us what we want to hear, they're not credible. That's just basically what it is. And that's what's going on right now. Again, I'm sure it's painful. It's jealousy. It's just pure jealousy. I could think of nothing worse, Kev, than for the Bengals to be bad all at the same time of while the Browns are having the best stretch in their franchise's history since coming back to Cleveland. Like, that's like the worst of both worlds. It's one thing to be bad, but at least you could have always slept on, well, at least the Browns are bad. That's not the case. That's what's making this stretch even worse for this fan base, Kev. Like, that, honestly, that is what is so painful. That is what is so embarrassing for them, is that they thought they were ready to rule the division when the Steelers started crumbling a bit, and they're the ones at the bottom. They're the ones at the bottom. They're the ones still trying to figure their stuff out. You have a fan base you have a reporter that took a video of Joe Burrow walking across the street, and it got 1 million+ views of him walking. That's what they have to hope for. You enjoy your quarterback that's walking. I'll enjoy my team that has one of the best wide receivers in football, the best run game in football, the best offensive line, the top 10 quarterback, top 5 defense. I'll enjoy all of that. You enjoy your quarterback walking across the street and throwing a football like he's Brett Favre in a Wrangler commercial, and I will enjoy my team being one of the best teams in football. So with that, like I said, I'm embarrassed to share a division with you as a fan. Radio host, I have to be all like, boring. But as a fan, no. I'm embarrassed. I'm embarrassed that we share a division. And I hate Steelers fans, including Kev over here. I can't stand them. But I'll take him on his worst day over you guys on your best. I tell you, not all of you guys are bad, but majority of you. And Cincy Jake, I like you, dude. But my gosh, you think I need to be drug tested? And this is what angers him more. Remember, Kevin, even you disagreed with me. I said John Johnson, top 3 safety in the league. People got on to me about that. And then what is the Bible? The Bible Pro Football Focus comes out and has him at number 3. Justin Nichols, shout out to him. I know you're a Bengals fan. I'm not putting you in that bunch. It's just, it is what it is. Ron Howard says Baker Mayfield wins one playoff game and you think he's the next TB12. Ask Keith Byers about the comparison. Kids these days. I have no problem talking to Keith Byers. I love talking to Keith Byers, but he ain't going to answer anything I already don't know. I never said that, Ron, but thanks for playing along. We'll be back in a moment. More of the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, presented by Orion Sports Medicine. Notice Kev didn't come at me at all.
We're on a time schedule here.
Oh, yeah. Bye.
It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash on 1410 ESPN Radio. ESPN 1410 Wing AM weather.
This afternoon will be mostly cloudy, a high near 75. Tonight's going to be cloudy with showers, a low near 58. And tomorrow's going to be cloudy with showers, a high around 72. I'm Pete Spivak for 1410 ESPN Radio.
Weather brought to you by Cullet Seal Coating, protecting the asphalt surfaces around your home, office, or commercial property. Crack filling, asphalt sealing, and parking lot striping. Find us at culletsealcoating.com.
Summer is about relaxing. Just you and your thoughts.
Boring. Luckily, summer is also about America's Got Talent.
Are you ready?
Mind-boggling acts.
Put on your seatbelts.
Huge surprises. And $1 million on the line. So don't just summer. Summer with AGT. America's Got Talent, summer's #1 show, premieres tonight on NBC.
Did you know that feeling sluggish or weighed down could be signs that your digestive system isn't working at its best? But taking Metamucil every day can help. Metamucil supports your daily digestive health using a special plant-based fiber called psyllium. Psyllium works by forming a gel in your digestive system to trap and remove the waste that weighs you down. Metamucil's gelling action also helps to promote heart health and slows down sugar absorption to promote healthy blood sugar levels. Start feeling lighter and more energetic by taking Metamucil every day.
It's like I blinked and suddenly all my business shifted to e-commerce.
Now my business hours are whenever my customers need me.
My customers want everything now and faster than ever. It's a whole different world.
Your business is changing. The United States Postal Service is changing with it. We're bringing you fast, reliable shipping nationwide, and we're bringing it right when your customers need it. Let's discover new routes. Visit USPS.com/new routes. The United States Postal Service. Priority, you.
O'Reilly.
Right now at O'Reilly Auto Parts, get up to a $15 gift card after mail-in rebate when you purchase select Superstart batteries. With the power and capacity your vehicle demands, Superstart batteries are designed for lasting performance and consistent starts. Turn the key with confidence with Superstart batteries only at O'Reilly Auto Parts.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Hi, Pete Kasugi here to tell you that if you're looking for the very best selection of your favorite garden plants, we grow over 125 varieties of tomatoes, peppers, cabbage, broccoli, cucumber, okra, cantaloupe, and eggplants. And if you haven't tried our famous Neighbor Beater tomato plants, come out and pick up a few and enjoy the best taste you ever had from your garden. They taste so good, you'll wish you planted more. And remember, Neighbor Beater garden plants are sold only at our garden center at 1309 Brand Pike. So get out that shovel and start digging. It's time for gardens, bedding plants, rose bushes, vines, and ground covers, shade trees and shrubs, bird baths and fountains, and so much more. So join the green revolution and come out and see us at 1309 Brand Pike.
Okay, let's play a little game. How many pairs of footwear do you think Skechers has sold? 100 million? 200 million? 500 million? Not even close. Shunak the Magnificent, over 2 billion with a capital B. Why? Because so many people worldwide have discovered that with every pair of Skechers, comfort is included. So once they try them on, they fall in love with the comfort. Then they get another pair, and another, and another. And how do Skechers include comfort in every pair? By being a comfort technology company and putting comfort innovations in every nook and cranny of their footwear, with features like air-cooled memory foam, hyper-burst foam, breathable knits, ultra-go cushioning, and more. And comfortable fits like relax fit, stretch fit, wide fit, seamless fit, arch fit with expert certified arch support, just to name a few. So if you're looking for stylish footwear that doesn't cost a fortune and feels like $1 million, get yourself a pair of Skechers. Because no matter what pair you choose, you can be guaranteed one thing: they'll be comfortable right out of the box. Find them at Skechers.com, a Skechers store, or wherever stylish footwear is sold.
Save today on your next project with 11% off everything now at Menards. Give your home's exterior an update with a new storm door from Larson. Larson storm doors let in fresh air and help save on your energy costs. Right now, get 11% off everything at Menards, including our entire selection of Larson storm doors. Good through Saturday, June 5th. Savings are a mail-in rebate. Some exclusions apply. See store for details.
Save big money at Menards.
Guys, stop putting your love life on hold. U.S. Pharmacy has some exciting news. If you've been wanting to try Viagra or Cialis, now's the perfect time. Call today and receive 90 little blue or little yellow pills for only $119 with free shipping. Why order some low-dose sildenafil from one of those subscription services when we can give you what you want now? Call 800-990-6271 and we'll rush your order discreetly packaged to your door. Been thinking about trying Viagra or Cialis? Call U.S. Pharmacy at 800-990-6271 for as little as only $119 for 90 pills. Need your package in a hurry? Call 800-990-6271 and ask about our express shipping option, and we'll rush your order to you as soon as possible. Save money on the little blue or yellow pill you've been wanting to try. Again, 800-990-6271 now. That's 800-990-6271.
Want to hear something amazing? Discover matches all the cash back you earn on your credit card at the end of your first year. Learn more at discover.com/match. Limitations apply.
The Reds are on the radio.
Every hit, every strikeout, every Reds victory. You can catch all of the action all season long right here on Dayton's home of the Reds, 1410 ESPN Radio. On Twitter, make sure to give us a follow. Search 1410 Kinner for Justin Kinner on Twitter. That's 1410 KINNER. And ESPN Dayton for the station Twitter handle.
Justin Kinner, Kev Nash back with you here on Dayton's ESPN radio station, 1410 Wing AM. Shout out to the Wright State Raiders. The baseball team, they just won their 4th Horizon League championship in the last 6 seasons. They're going to be heading to Knoxville, the Knoxville Regional. They're the 4th seed. They're going to take on Tennessee on Friday. And again, the selection show was yesterday on ESPN, but they're going to take on the number 1 seeded Volunteers at 6 p.m. on Friday in their first game of the regional. Wright State will be joined in Knoxville by, of course, Tennessee, of course, but also the number 2 seed Duke and number 3 Liberty. And look, Wright State again, I'll never understand. I don't understand the purpose of the RPI in baseball. Like, they have one of the best RPIs season in and season out, and they get screwed every year on their seeding. So I get, like, at least in I thought basketball was bad, Kev. Basketball is way more fair than baseball. I don't care what anybody says. I know they don't use the RPI in basketball anymore. But in basketball, I mean, like, at least with the net ranking right now, I mean, it doesn't necessarily directly reflect, if you're top 20 in net ranking, you're going to get, like, I forgot who it was. There was a random team that was like top 10 in ranking this year. I think it was Colgate. Was top 10 in the net. But, like, you have a chance. Like, you can look at all the mid-major teams that got top 25 votes and that were getting very good seeds in the NCAA. That doesn't happen in baseball. Right. Wright State's the best team in the state of Ohio. No questions. I mean, not even close. I shouldn't say not even close, but they're better than Ohio State. They're the best team in Ohio. I don't care. You look at the amount of pros that they spit out in the league. I mean, right now, minor league baseball across the board. I mean, you even look at, say, Sean Murphy with the Athletics. I mean, there's so many Raiders right now who are on the brink of, being called up to the main roster right now in Major League Baseball. They have talent all over the place. This roster has some major talent on it as well. I mean, they're one of the top scoring teams in all of college baseball. But to get the 4 seed in this regional, the last seed, that doesn't make any sense. They have like a top 20 RPI ranking, one of the top scoring teams, if not the best scoring team in baseball. It doesn't make any sense. I just don't get the purpose of why do they even schedule tough anyways? Why do they even schedule tough if, you're not going to get top 25 votes, if you're not going to be even considered for a higher seed than a 4? I mean, at least this year, they at least put them in Knoxville. I mean, in years past, they've sent them out to Oregon and Portland and all this stuff. And it's like, are you kidding me? I think they played in Louisville a few years ago, obviously, but it's ridiculous. They're one of the top teams in the country every single year. And because they're mid-major, they get screwed over time in and time out. Basketball's not the best, but it's better than baseball. Baseball is a waste of time. Why try to get a good RPI? Wright State, stop wasting your time trying to get a good RPI because it doesn't get you anything because you still had to win your damn conference tournament to get in. I'm not really saying don't focus on your RPI, but it's frustrating. It really is. It doesn't make any sense to me, but I don't want that to be the focus of this. This team, there was someone from Milwaukee's athletics department that was talking about, they've talked to some coaches, said this is the best team that they've ever seen in the league. Like Wright State is that damn good that they're going to be underseeded, and it would not be surprised at all if they end up coming out of this regional. It's never happened. It's going to be tough, but this team is that good. So we'll see.
Man, I was seeing some of those scores that came out throughout the season. It was looking like football scores. It was like 21-3, and I was just like, what is going on here? And they were just blowing teams out the water, man. So we've been saying it all season, man. They're the best team in Ohio, including the professional teams. They got a ton of guys, like you said, scratching the pro level at the MLB level, man. So go Raiders. It's plain and simple, man. We want them to win a ton of games. And, I don't understand how it works in college baseball either because, I remember like in the early 2000s and the late 90s, it was a Cal State Fullerton was like the best team in college baseball. So I just don't know because I don't follow college baseball like that. I watch, say in the College World Series and, whenever Wright State is on, I'll check them out here and there and everything like that. But I just don't, I'm not going to sit here and lie and know how the process works for picking teams for the tournament and everything like that. But the important thing is they're in there. Go Raiders.
Yeah, keep in mind, Wright State, they enter the NCAA championship with the 35-11 mark. They enter the regional with, they lead the country in 6 national categories. Batting average, okay, they lead the nation in batting average, on base percentage, slugging percentage, doubles per game, scoring, and total runs.
So they're good.
Just a little bit. And keep in mind, like you could say, the competition in the league, they beat up on the SEC and a lot of those, big powers as well, even in the non-conference. I mean, for them this is why I get frustrated when it comes down to that. But it goes on to say that the Raiders, 126 total doubles is number 2 in the country, while their 207 total drawn walks is number 7 nationally. And the pitching staff's strikeout to walk ratio is 3.29, which is the number 8, as far as that goes ranked nationally. So this team is well balanced from pitching to hitting and everything like that. So again, they could come out of this regional. I'm not going to sit here and pretend to be well versed on the big boys of college baseball, but keep in mind they last played Tennessee last year. In fact, the last series that Wright State played in last year before the season was pulled due to COVID, they took 2 or 3 from Tennessee last year when they played. So we shall see what happens. But again, Wright State, Tennessee, NCAA regional coming up on Friday night, 6:00. We'll see if the Raiders can make it out of that regional coming up this weekend. Let's talk a little Ohio State recruiting. Jeremy Birmingham of Letterman Row. We'll chat with him on the other side. Don't go anywhere. More of the Justin Kinder Show with Kev Nash next.
Listen, stream, watch. It's the Justin Kinder Show with Kev Nash right here on Dayton's ESPN Radio, 1410 Wing AM.
Mow like a pro with Hustler Turf zero-turn mowers. They engineer their mowers to be maintenance and service friendly for the everyday homeowner while not sacrificing the build